All right, Chris.
Live,
we're back. Round 2. Sequel time, baby.
Sequel,
oh, man.
Spiritual sequel, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because the whole thing with last week was very much an experiment. And I would like to think it was a very successful experiment with our solo watch. And, we managed to assemble our council, our squad. And I thought, again, I think we can both agree a mediocre movie. I thought we had a very fun watch long. We were able to have a lot of critique. We were able to give the audience a lot of kind of maybe new nuggets of information that they maybe didn't have the last time. And this time we're back once again on the Talkin TV channel, our official watch along numero dos. And Chris, what are we watching today?
Well, Dom, like you said, we've assembled our Rogue Squadron. Gold Leader is in the house, and we are here to watch
Red Leader?
One, a Star Wars story. Yeah, I guess Rogue One is more fitting. I'm just so used to the original trilogy, man. No matter how much I've seen this film, which this is my most watched Disney Star Wars film.
Yeah.
I just, it's ingrained in my head. Gold
Most
Leader.
Definitely. And I'm actually glad that you brought that up because before we get to the actual watch along, before we bring in the rest of our excellent panelists, which first off, just thanks to all the guys who were able to once again return for this watch along from our solo watch along. We would not be able to have done this without you. But Chris, this is a little bit of a nostalgic trip for me, and I think it should be for you as well because Chris, this place holds a special place in both of our hearts, not just for being, in my opinion, the best of this new batch of movies that have come out, of Star Wars movies that have come out under the Disney banner, but also because, Chris, if I'm not mistaken, this movie was the subject of our first ever podcast collaboration together. Back in the day, going back to our DCC days, if you go on the Movie Nerd Reviews YouTube channel, you can go to the first 6 episodes. It's so weird. For every podcast that I tried to do before we got this started, I was never able to get past 6 episodes. But that was the subject of our first episode when you and I just sat down and were talking. And I was like, you know what? I like talking about movies. You like talking about movies. We both seem to get along. We both found out that we were huge fans of Star Wars. And we're like, hey, this new Rogue One movie, this looks pretty cool. Why don't we go see that? And we did, and we made a podcast about it, and it was magic.
Yeah, and just like Ethan here saying, this is where the fun begins. We forged our friendship through
Rogue One,
really. I mean,
and here we are all these years later.
If we can get through this Disney Star Wars era together, we can get through anything. But, like the Beatles said, you do need a little help from your friends sometimes. So even this strong friendship we formed through this film, we still had to invite some friends on this thing.
Yes, we did. We had to assemble our own Rogue One squadron. 6 people there, 6 people here. What's up? Roberts make the cut. And Chris, I don't know about you. I'm ready to bring these guys in, and I'm ready to get this going.
Yeah, it's tough to decide who to bring in first, so I just need to let it be known that this is in no specific order. Each one of these guests, I think, is amazing in everything they do, and we're just so thrilled to have them. So you know what? We're going to start the same way we did for our solo watch-along from last weekend. Joe, what is going on, my friend?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me back. Pumped to be here. Hopefully this is a little tamer than the solo versus the solo versus not solo camps. But yeah, pumped to be here. Excited to chat a little bit about, I think, one of the better movies of the ones that we've gotten in this Disney era. But I wouldn't go so far as saying, the best. But we'll see. But yeah, guys, Guy at the Movies here. You may remember me from such films as Guy at the Movies on Instagram, YouTube, all over the place. We'll chat a little bit throughout the night, and hopefully I'll pump out some things that we're working on later on. But for now, just happy to be here for another lively Star Wars conversation.
Yeah, man, and we are thrilled to have you. And up next from the Great White North, BrandoCritic or Brando Calrissian, as he is commonly known. How's it going, bud?
I guess if you guys can be Gold Leader, Red Leader, I guess Brando Calrissian will be my calling card. Well, anyways, thank you guys for having me back. Again, we're here to talk about some Star Wars. So for anyone who's joining in the live stream, thank you all for coming. And you guys might know me from BrandoCritic on YouTube, where I post movie reviews and collection videos and things like that. You might know me from BrandoCritic on Instagram, and you might even know me from 50 Shades of Grey. Yes, I actually am in the movie. I'm just an extra walking around in the background. Fun little fact for you guys. But we're not talking about that film today, thank Christ. We're talking about not Solo. We did that last time. We're talking about Rogue One, this film right here. And surprisingly enough, this is where we might differ here. I'm not a very big fan of this movie. And you might be thinking, well, Brandon, then why do you have the shirt? I bought this shirt before I even saw the movie. It was proceeds for charity. So that's why I bought the shirt. But I am looking forward to talking about Rogue One with all of you guys, and we're gonna have some fun. So I'm looking forward to it. Thanks.
Yeah, man. No, dude. Thank you for being here. Up next, just to your south, not quite up in Canada, but still a West Coaster himself, David of Flix Talk. What is going on, bro?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for having me back once again. Last time we were at the Solo, movie premiere, for me at least, because that was the first time that I had checked that movie out. And I told these guys before that I wasn't much of a Star Wars head, but I'm kind of on board. And you know what? I looked up a lot of reviews for this, and a lot of people do like it. So I don't know. I might have to disagree with you at the end of this review, Brando. So we'll see what's going to happen if you guys can fully convert me, to a Star Wars head or Star Wars nerd, whatever you guys want to call it. But I'm all on board for these movies. I love all the flashy little things. I feel like an old grandpa. I love the little flashy things going on. So I'm probably going to have fun with this. Disney never really disappoints to me, but hey, I'm here to give it a watch with you guys. And I got my beer handy directly from Moe's Tavern. Let's go. I'm ready.
Let's go.
I was about to say, David, Chris would severely disagree with you on that Disney comment, just saying.
That's all right. That's all right.
Man, you got to set the tone. And we've been on this guy's show a few times now, and no one quite sets the tone here on YouTube, here in the live stream culture, like our good friend Elliot from Movie Files. Elliot, man, how you doing, bro?
What's going on, gentlemen? Glad to be back. Week 2 in the Star Wars, the month of the celebration of celebrating Star Wars. And tonight we're watching a movie that I'm a big fan of. My favorite Star Wars film is A New Hope. So I love the connections between this film and obviously New Hope here. No spoilers for David, but definitely recommend doing a double feature with that film. But either way, I'm Elliot from Movie Files. I have my own YouTube channel. If it's a movie on Netflix, if it's on Disney Plus, Amazon, whatever the case may be, I'm checking it out. I'm trying to give you guys my thoughts on that, as well as keeping up to date with you all on Instagram, interacting with you with news stories, movie stories, all that fun stuff. So definitely check me out on YouTube at Movie Files and Instagram, and I'm ready to get this bad boy going.
Dude, I couldn't agree more with that. Guys,
man.
Once again, thank you all for being here. We have about 3 minutes till we get this movie rolling here, so I kind of want to head to the chat for a few minutes. We got Luck Review saying this film features his favorite shot in any movie. Okay, all right. When Vader's lightsaber lights up. All right, we won't say when that comes to save a little excitement here for Flix, but that is a good moment, and I'm curious to see how you react to that one, David.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's
lightsabers out, boys. I don't know if you saw my comment.
Without actually spoiling anything, I think that this scene that we're speaking about will go down in a lot of people's history as being just like one of the greatest things to ever have been made in Star Wars. Again, no spoilers.
No, totally, man. And once the movie gets going, guys, we're gonna let it fly. It's gonna be another just good conversation. Jump in when you feel the need to jump in. You guys in the chat, you guys are never shy when we do these things, but tonight, let that be no exception. And I didn't want to show this while Brando was giving his intro, because I think that's like, everyone's got to have their little solo time. No pun intended here. But Joe with the zinger from last week in regards to Brando's Rogue One shirt. I love that through line that keeps coming up whenever we hang out with these guys, man. That's it's a good way to
So is that our first running joke then, Chris? His wife got it for him. That's going to be the first official running joke on these watch-alongs.
Yeah, it's like the Talkin TV cinematic universe here. Like,
hey,
there we
go.
Nice.
Hey, man,
there we go.
Never thought I'd see the day, huh? Oh, that's good. I appreciate that, Joe. That's a heads up play right there.
I do what I can.
That's a Philly guy. That's a Philly guy for you. I like that. Someone's got their 4K ready. Okay, flexing. But I like
got
it.
that 4K cut.
Flexing.
Correct. I'm into that though, Robert. It must be nice up there. Hopefully we can get there someday, Dom. I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully.
I'm sure this movie would look really, really great in 4K for sure.
Yeah, this film, dude, like this is before things really went to the South ways with Disney and just stunning visuals. I mean, I'm sure you can even say that, Brando, for someone who's not the biggest fan. Of
for all my story, all my gripes with the film, this is an amazing looking movie. The visuals are just fantastic. So I got to give all the praise where praise is due in terms of the cinematography, the production design, everything like that.
Yeah,
it's an amazing looking movie.
And it's funny that you guys mentioned that because the whole thing with this movie, obviously, is it's before The Last Jedi. It's before all the controversy set in, where people were starting to realize, oh, wait, maybe Disney doesn't know what they're doing. And this was kind of marked the beginning of their whole little spin-off game, where the whole idea being of that Disney's latest attempt to copy Marvel with the Star Wars universe is that you would have the main trilogy of movies, and then you would have a spin-off and the kind of this one-off Star Wars adventure in between each of these movies. I think kind of the initial idea was so that they could go in kind of this new direction once the main new trilogy was done, and they could kind of continue to churn out these Star Wars movies that were kind of just these one-offs in a galaxy far, far away. So, like, what is kind of your guys' take on that whole thought process and direction? You know, specifically for those of you guys who have seen this movie, and obviously now being on the hindsight is 2020.
So, Dom, real quick before we jump in, let's discuss that as we start the film. If everyone's ready,
all right.
We're at the 10-minute mark of the live stream. That's usually how we like to do these things here. And so, when you guys are ready, I'll do a countdown, and we could jump into this.
Let's do it.
So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Press play. And we are off, everyone. We have officially started Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Got that Lucasfilm logo rolling.
Yeah. Dom, why don't you reiterate that question? Because that's a great way to set the tone here and jump right.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously the idea being that Lucasfilm was trying to kind of copy Marvel in one of the many, many studios around this time that was trying to copy Marvel. You know, Marvel had arguably just had one of its biggest back-to-back successes with the back-to-back releases of Age of Ultron in spring of 15 and then Civil War in spring of 16, right? Obviously, Star Wars had returned and it proved, okay, yeah, we're back now with the release of The Force Awakens in December, but people may have been a little bit confused as to why, A, we were only getting another Star Wars movie only a year after that gangbusters movie, but also how it wasn't actually a direct sequel to The Force Awakens. I remember a lot of people were confused by watching the trailers for Rogue One and being like, wait a minute, that's not Rey. Where's Rey? That was a frequent question that I was hearing a lot. And so kind of what is your guys' thought process on the, kind of Disney's direction at first with the idea of these spin-off movies? Obviously, we kind of know where that went now because hindsight is 2020, but kind of before all the nonsense with The Last Jedi and Solo, do you guys think that, like, there could have been promise with these movies?
Yeah,
sure.
100%.
Yeah,
I mean,
Joe, why'd you say that, man?
Who'd you ask?
Oh, yeah, Joe, why do you say that, man? 100%. That's
Well, because it's exactly what we talked about last time, and I'm sure that we'll mention it multiple times tonight as well. But they've stuck to the same old story and the same old characters and the offshoots of those characters for so long. It was time, and we all wanted to see them break out and explore the other parts of the galaxy that we hear about but never see. And that's what they started doing with this. Is the baby steps, I would say, if you consider Rogue One. They're showing something that does fit into the overall original Skywalker saga, but you're seeing different characters, different story, and different locations as well. So I think it's what we all wanted it to be, but Solo, when they kind of tied it back into the original trilogy, I think they got cold feet based on that performance, and now we're seeing them taking a step back to be like, whoa, let's regroup here.
Most definitely. And I just wanted, and so with that being said, obviously we're in the movie, we're in the opening sequence. You see, obviously, Orson Krennic landing on this planet. I think that, I'm trying to remember, I think this is the only planet that I don't remember the direct name of, to recruit, obviously, Galen Erso, portrayed by Mads Mikkelsen, in order to begin construction on the Death Star. And one of the things that I also wanted to point attention to is I know that a constant criticism of this movie, two of the biggest criticisms that I heard from this movie were this movie was oversaturated with references that were constantly distracting from the actual main movie, and this movie the characters were boring and uninteresting. But I have to say that this entire opening sequence, to me, it spews with tension. Just the fact of, again, it's another regular family that's just impacted by the Empire, which is something that I thought Rebels did really well, kind of showing like how the little person was affected by this overarching empire. And me personally, I don't find the references distracting at all, with the exception of like maybe a few. I find the references in Solo to be a lot more distracting. It's like, what's your guys' kind of take on that whole thing?
Well, I'll just say this real quick before we hand it over to our guest, Tom. This is by far my favorite open of any Disney Star Wars film. I think that is just so beautiful. I'm gonna go out and say it's elegant in how it just sort of it sets the tone of the Star Wars world. You know, there's the blue milk, but it's not blatantly in your face. It's just there. It's just like a part of the scene. You know, everything is a part of the scene and feels so synthetic and so just like natural. It feels just so lived in, and that to me, and I think this movie, you know, contrary to what you said, I think this movie kind of does live up to this opening scene. We'll get there, but I really thought this was a brilliant way to sort of get you fully immersed right into the film off the bat.
I mean, I agree that this is an elegant looking scene, and you know how Don was talking about how the Empire can just have such a big impact on such a little family. But I guess unpopular opinion, but I think that this scene should have happened maybe 20 minutes into the movie, because we're seeing this villain tear this family apart, but it's a family that we know nothing of, and we have a main character who is introduced in this scene, and all of her character development happens off screen. You know what I mean? Like, if you have this movie start off a bit slower, you understand who Galen Erso is, what he wants, what his needs are, his motivations, his characteristics. Jin, like the relationship between the father and the daughter, all we got was stardust, right? But if you take a bit of time to really establish that, and then when you see Orson Krennic take that away, then we hate Orson Krennic even more, because now we're taking away like this bond that we really get to know. And it doesn't have to be like, of course, 45 minutes into the movie, like we're not making Braveheart here or anything, but it's like all this stuff is happening. It's like, okay, well, who are these characters again? It's like I don't know what anything is going on, and I think that if they moved this scene like 20 minutes into the movie and got to establish the characters and what's going on in the world a bit more, then it would have had much more of an impact.
See, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I was, again, like, just pointing it to Krennic, Ben Mendelsohn, to me, a very welcome addition to the Star Wars verse. This is kind of before he started getting typecast in every generic bad guy role ever. And he's just kind of like, I still think that, like, it's one of the funniest one-liners in this movie when Lyra comes running out of the wilderness, and he's just like, oh, look, there's Lyra back from the dead. It's a miracle. Just like that little bit of cynical Star Wars sarcasm. I just found that really, really funny.
Elliot, what's your thoughts on this opening sequence right now? How you feeling about the film so far?
You said me, or was that David? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, Elliot, dude.
Yeah. No, like I said, this is one of my. I'm a big fan of this film, just due to the fact of no spoilers, but how connected it is to my favorite Star Wars films and New Hope, and to me, the whole idea of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. My idea of this film when they announced it back when they had all the announcements that years prior to that was, hey, we're going to bring you Star Wars back and give you 3 new trilogies in the Skywalker saga. We're also going to give you this new kind of offset of films that tie into the larger scheme, but also is kind of a spinoff. And we're going to give you some nostalgia, give you some familiar, maybe some names you've heard about, some characters you've seen before. So for me, I was really, really excited for the film. I'm loving the opening personally, just because, again, something I always look forward to in Star Wars is new characters, new environments, new settings, new characters. I mean, these new villains. So I was just going into this first opening scene. I'm just like, wow, this is what I've been waiting for a while. This is a little bit more of a grittier, darker, new characters of Star Wars. So 5-10 minutes in, and we're all so far. I'm loving it.
I think you can put Rogue One, The Mandalorian, and The Last Jedi kind of in the same bucket in terms of the look and feel of the movie. They all kind of give off the same like grittier vibe to me. And going back to the thing about like the blue milk and things like that, I think that's also what Last Jedi did, was not focusing so much on like these huge, except for the die, but not focusing on these huge callbacks, but just living in that world.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really glad that I didn't bite the bait that my guy Evan right there is trying to get me to say north of a planet. So Evan, dude, thanks for hanging out, man, and being your typical joking self, dude. We're happy to have you here in the live stream. And I think this is a perfect moment to comment on this. I know a lot of people give this score flack, but to me, this is like the first reimagining of a John Williams score that just, it feels like how I would want someone to reimagine a John Williams score. And maybe that's my Giacchino bias, but I think he did a great job with this film.
Yeah, see, my problem with the score is, and I understand where you're coming from, Chris, but my whole thing with the score is that I always look at kind of what Kevin Kleiner did with the Clone Wars and the Rebels TV series, and how he was kind of able to kind of add his own variation on that original Star Wars theme while still giving us like those enjoyable classical beats. And I guess my problem with what Giacchino was doing here, number one, the entire movie, it feels This is very similar to the entire scripting of The Rise of Skywalker. The entire score here feels like it was a rushed script job, because the whole thing is this was originally supposed to be Johan Johansson doing the score, and then Johansson left. I don't remember if he was doing another movie, and so they brought on Michael Giacchino, and he had to get this script done in like 2 weeks. Sorry, the score done in 2 weeks. So there was that whole thing. And then on top of that, I just feel like it's a situation where it's almost like teasing us, where you feel like you're going to get the lead up to those classic, iconic Star Wars themes, and then you never do. You know, like that entire moment where, like when with the Empire, and you can sort of hear the beats of that classic Empire tune, but you don't really get it, you know? And so that's kind of like my problem, and why I personally don't like the score.
Yeah, I can understand that. To me, like, even though it was rushed, it feels so perfect. It just fits the Star Wars story mindset, I think, very well, and it doesn't overstep its boundary. Its bounds. You know, it feels less like, you know, a bigger Star Wars event and more of like a smaller scale story. So, but
Yeah.
David, man, I want to hear from you, dude. Our new guy in the mix. How you feeling about this film so far? We're about almost 10 minutes in here, 9 minutes and 45 seconds for everyone out there. So what are your thoughts about the film so far, bro?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I mean, for one, I got to disagree with, I think Brando said that, you know, this would have been cool if it was 20 minutes in, that opening sequence. I think if you're kind of thrown right into it, you just kind of lock your emotions on these certain characters. I mean, with a flashback, we got to see her. I totally forget the name. Is it the little girl's name? But, you know, she was kind of, you get to see her past her, you know, the whole breaking up of the family. It was cool seeing, is it Ben Mendelsohn?
Yeah.
As you know, I loved him in I have him on the wall, Ready Player One. I thought he was awesome as a villain. Yeah, he's definitely typecast. He has that look. It was cool that you established those villains right away, I think, because sometimes taking a long time to establish those characters, it can you can kind of lose focus a little bit, right? I mean, as we saw in Solo, you had characters that you didn't even care about at all whatsoever. So you're already establishing that backstory. So you have empathy for this girl. You can sympathize with her as well. And I'm enjoying it so far. We're only 10 minutes in, and I'm like locked in right now. So I like it.
So more locked in than Solo, or are you about the same, or how would you compare the two?
No, I'm way more locked in than Solo.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen Ben Mendelsohn in Starred Up, the prison movie with it's slipping my mind, but it's a UK film, and he's like the father of another kid that ends up in prison with him, and it's such a, you know, to not overuse the word gritty, but it's such a gritty portrayal from Ben Mendelsohn. It's just phenomenal. It really made me enjoy him that much more in all these other roles.
Check that one out.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, so now we're on Jeddah for this part, and we're introduced to get it. We've already been introduced to Cassian Andor, and now we're getting introduced to Bodhi Rook, Riz Ahmed. It's funny because he's another subject that's been a subject of a lot of criticism, where a lot of people felt like his character was unnecessary. But I actually think that Bodhi Rook is kind of, I'm not going to say a missed opportunity, but I think he had like the inklings of a good character, in the sense of kind of somebody who actually does want to do the right thing after serving for the Empire, and also kind of, in a way, like it's kind of a little bit subtextual, because it's kind of giving us an insight into some of like kind of the mindless soldiers, you know, like obviously we watch so many Star Wars properties where we see just stormtrooper after stormtrooper and TIE fighters just getting mowed down and just used as like cannon fodder for the heroes, you know. But it's nice, it's kind of interesting to see like kind of a face and a conscience almost brought to one of those, kind of reminding us that like, yeah, these are real people.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that, like, this does to establish this ensemble cast. Everyone gets like their little moment in the beginning, and for me, it really sucks me. And I know Brando sort of was one of the ones out the gates that kind of had his issues with it, but like all these little character moments, like they feel meaningful. Where as in the past, when I've seen like IPs and bigger titles try to do this type of thing, it's just kind of like, okay, I get it. You got to introduce the stars one by one, but what am I getting from this? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I got that. But you know, it's like, so now I mean, yeah, and I get it too. Like there are memorable moments, and here comes K2SO, the robot. You know, and it's so funny because, you know, hot take, but even though he's the droid, he's the robot, he feels the most human out of any of these guys. So.
I heard that before.
But I mean,
this other guy, he's like, yeah, take me. Nope. Then Jin is just like smacking these guys around.
Yeah, but it's like, funny. Yeah, I mean, and it's funny how, you know, of course, and this is the whole argument of what Star Wars is to different people. You know, I find it kind of funny though, from a story perspective, how the first standalone Star Wars movie is so dependent on the movie that takes place afterwards anyways. But then again, from a producing standpoint, it's like, what are they going to do? They're going to go straight into a Star Wars movie with no characters we recognize, nothing that we recognize. Like we know this is the Rebel base. There's X-Wings. There's, you know, obviously I think it's spoiled already that Darth Vader shows up in this movie. And, you know, I just think that, and we can talk about this later, and of course it's a hot take, but, you know, I think without the context of the Star Wars universe, that the story is just severely lacking in creativity.
I can give you that.
Yeah,
I just think it does the simplistic nature that it's set out to do so well that I can forgive it. But you know what? I do see what you're saying. I guess for me it works though, personally.
Yeah. I like this scene too. Like this is probably the only real characterization that Jin really gets. You know what I mean?
I guess, but I guess like my question is that, and I understand where it comes from, because this entire movie is a double-edged sword of constantly trying to play a balancing act between being an individual character study and also being about the rebellion at large. Because this movie very much is about, this really was before obviously the destruction of the Death Star, like it was in the opening crawl in A New Hope. This really was the first victory that the rebellion was able to successfully have against the Empire. So this movie constantly is a double-edged sword, and I will admit that even though I personally think it's a good balancing act, I don't think that it's a perfect one, you know. So I will give you that in that sense. Like the movie definitely sacrifices and kind of tells us some of Jin's backstory in order to like kind of get the plot moving along. And I guess my question then is kind of, what were maybe some things that could have been done differently in order to like kind of maybe keep more character focused while still having that greater looming backdrop, you know? Because I noticed that's the thing that like I feel, again, having to constantly bring it back to the animated shows, but those seem to be kind of the pinnacles, you know, kind of the golden, the standards that we hold these Star Wars spinoffs to, is how, like, you know, like what else can we do in terms of like making it more character focused?
Yeah, there's actually like, I don't know where it is in the story, but like I think Jin is sleeping and then she has like little premonitions of, you know, her and her father, and you know they're all around like a dinner table with Orson Krennic, and I think like that could have been a great way, you know, a great scene to have at the beginning. And of course, film had so many reshoots and all these things. And of course, I think all of us know that there's so many shots in the trailer that even didn't make the final cut of the movie and were kind of altered. And I think that, you know, since that they shot those scenes, and I'll point them out when they come, I don't exactly remember where they're from, but you know, having that like as a more subtle way to kind of go, okay, there's this Orson Krennic guy, there's something off about him, and you know, slowly kind of ease us into, okay, where are we? You know, oh, weird, my connection just stopped there for a second. Can you guys hear me okay?
Good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
It's not me tonight. It's not me.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, it's what was I talking about? Right. But it's like it's a more easy, like it eases us into, okay, who's Jyn Erso, the relationship with the father, because that's really the dynamic that the movie is kind of being held by, or at least that's what it was supposed to. And it was there, but I think it just kind of got lost. And of course, now we got to add Bodhi Rook, and we got to add, you know, Chirrut Emwe, Baze Malbus, Cassian Andor. We got to add all these things, and you know, the stuff that is just pushed straight to the forefront. So, and again, I don't hate this movie, and there is just some missed opportunities because, like I said, this is an amazing looking movie, and of course, when you get to the climax, it's so well executed. But I think that if we cared about the relationship between Jyn and her father, and you know what Jyn really wants, because she seems to be just very kind of passive through this movie, that if we cared about her and we cared about everything that was going on between them, then the climax would have been just even more amazing, because then you have that emotional stakes on top of the great action.
See, I guess just my thought process, and kind of why I never understood why people thought of Jyn as such a passive character, is that to me, like, she's kind of got such this baggage and backstory, you know, all this baggage against the Empire, that kind of just her kind of going along and actually like wanted to make a difference. Like to me, like it was an entirely selfish motivation. Like everything that she's been doing up until this point, like her main goal has been to find her dad again, who she hasn't seen in years. So kind of that whole motivation to me is such a driving force that I kind of like, even though yes, she is being drawn along from place to place, and Cassian technically is the more active protagonist here, but like that's still like a motivation. You know, like we've seen like plenty of movies where the protagonist is passive, you know, and it still works. You know, like look at something like Collateral. You know, Jamie Foxx's character in that movie is completely passive. He is completely at the mercy of Tom Cruise's character, but like he still undergoes some great characterization and change in that movie.
Yeah, but they ease
That's a
into
great
it
movie, by the
though.
way.
They ease into it a lot more than this does, and there's a lot more time to establish who he is and his characteristics more than Jyn Erso.
Yeah, so David, man, like, what's your take about how they're, like, setting up the tone and introducing the characters here? Like, you're not the biggest Star Wars guy, but you've seen a lot of movies. So, like, what's your take on this so far?
Oh, no worries. You might have to turn your mic up a little bit. I noticed that's like the lowest out of all of us. We speak pretty loud, but just a side note. But yeah, no, I love the way they're establishing it. It was great seeing Jimmy Smits as well as Forrest Whitaker earlier on in the movie. I grew up on Jimmy Smits. I mean, NYPD Blue. Anybody else? I mean, he was on there, and as well as was he on some of the prequels as well? The episode.
Yeah, he played Bail Organa in all of the prequels as well.
Okay, perfect. So it's good seeing these familiar faces. I'm noticing this extraction theme is kind of pretty much a central theme for Star Wars lore. I mean, go in, get out, and it hasn't really much changed. I mean, you guys are the professionals when it comes to this. You guys are the experts. But yeah, I'm enjoying the character development a bit. I'm getting to learn a little bit about her, and but the whole extraction thing is kind of played out for me. Like as far as going in, that's like the mission at hand, right? It's always that recycled story, but we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I hear you. So it is feeling a little recycled to you, though, even though you're kind of enjoying like the spectacle of it at this point.
Oh yeah.
Gotcha.
Once again, the flash and the dazzle on screen is looking pretty good. So
yeah, maybe the Forrest Whitaker appearance here might change your mind, though. I personally love this character and all that he brings to the table in this role.
Oh man,
yeah, and fun fact, this is also before Solo came out. This was the first original character from the Clone Wars animated show that actually made an appearance in a live-action Star Wars movie. Because obviously, Forrest Whitaker's character Saw Gerrera was the leader of the Onderon Rebellion in the Onderon arc in the beginning of season 5 of Clone Wars.
Oh, I had no idea. I haven't gotten to that part in Clone Wars yet. Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, but I mean, like that's the thing too. It's like, oh, I don't know anything about. That's another thing that it's like, when Forrest Whitaker, Saw Gerrera kind of opens up the thing, it's like, my child, come, and it's like, of course, he trains her and everything like that, but we don't see any of it. But then someone might say, and I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but it's like, oh well, if you watch season 5, then he gets all the character development in there. But for someone who hadn't,
right,
then what I mean. It's kind of empty.
It's that constant problem of needing to rely on expanded canon in order to gain the better understanding of what I'm watching in the moment. It's that double-edged sword. For me personally, that doesn't bother me, and I actually like that. But I know for a lot of people, that's a big problem.
But also going along with what Brando's saying, like as someone who hasn't seen Clone Wars all the way through, this is my least favorite character in this movie because of that reason. Because there is not a lot of development, and I don't really get much of him. I really don't care for him at all.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree with you there because the Saw Gerrera's whole point in this movie is kind of just to he serves nothing but like a plot as nothing but like a thing to move the plot from point A to B. He doesn't really have any character development, and his whole point is just like, look at how crazy some of these crazy rebel guys can be, But it was more so just a matter of like being crazy.
This looks
awesome.
That's a beautiful shot.
Great visual.
This is where I want to watch it on 4K. Like this is what makes me.
Yeah, I'm jealous of Robert right now.
Yeah, this movie, this is where this movie earned its visual effects nomination. Like, good God.
That's the Gareth Edwards effect right there.
Yeah.
He knows scale.
Yeah, he really does. That first Godzilla movie, underrated.
Yeah, filmed in Vancouver.
Yep.
Little
yeah, so I mean, since you brought up scale, I mean, Luck Reviews brought up earlier, something that isn't talked about enough in this movie is how well it handles scale. And it really does, doesn't it? Like I never really made the conscious connection there, but now that it's you guys are all kind of bringing it up one by one. I mean, look how beautiful Out the Window looks right now. It feels so natural. It feels so real. And I think he's right. Like other Star Wars films haven't achieved this level, and so that's why I think I can kind of forgive like the simple extraction mission, the simplistic nature of this film, because like I really do think it's firing on a lot of cylinders, and it keeps it very interesting throughout the entire time where I can handle like the sort of simple plot because I think everything else being brought to the table is just so perfect. Now
my next question for you guys is obviously another point that was brought up that was a big kind of hit or miss for a lot of people, the use of Tarkin in this movie and the CG obviously bringing Peter Cushing's face like this back from the dead. It's funny because I watched this movie 3 times in theaters. The first time I saw it, I was completely spellbound. I'm like, whoa, those visuals are insane. And the second time, like I know a lot of people were complaining it was a little bit too Uncanny Valley-esque, that it didn't convince it, but I'm watching it here, and honestly, it looks just as compelling to me as the first time I saw it in theaters. Like there's not an inch of rubberiness to it. Like to me, like they really did the perfect job of recreating Peter Cushing's facial, facial attributes on this actor that's portraying him.
Yeah, this is the scene I'm talking about right here. You know,
oh, this flashback scene, yeah.
You know, I feel like this should have come from the beginning of the movie, and it should have been played out, and not just a flashback. Like we're seeing Orson Krennic, and it's like, oh well, and the father's in the Imperial uniform. It's like I feel like there's a lot of story there, and then like, oh, we see the great family, and then we see the training. Obviously, that comes later, but then of course, like, oh well, Krennic's like, all right, well, we need to get him to the Death Star.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like if they brought that back, then just that extra level of heart would have been able to take the movie forward. Because again, with what Chris was talking about, like with the simple extraction plot, I don't really actually mind that at all. But just the emotional, underlying of the movie, I find is really lacking.
Right.
Yeah, I think that goes to kind of like what we were all saying last week, like how much of the film comes together in editing, because for me, it personally works having this moment as a flashback. And I guess that's like why I love these big panels, because like what one man sees as gold, another man sees as trash, or however the saying goes. I know I just butchered that, but hey, maybe it's better I didn't say it right. I don't know if I have the rights to that or not.
We get what you're saying.
One man's trash is another man's treasure is copyrighted.
Really?
Might be shit.
Honestly, man, we're on YouTube.
Happy birthday
Who
is so.
The heck knows? Happy birthday is. There you go, David. That was that's good. That's a joke in the music industry. Everyone jokes around, dude. You can't be playing that, man. You tell your agent you're playing that song. So
that's ridiculous.
Oh man, yeah, the things you learn. But Elliot, dude, we haven't heard from you in quite some time, man. How you feeling? What's your head at this point in the film, bro?
Elliot's just like spellbound by the visuals in this movie.
This is probably like my fourth time watching this film. It's been probably about 2 years since I watched it. But no, I'm just kind of taking it all in, especially just thinking about just as we kind of talked about and everyone agreeing in regards to the visuals and the cinematography. It just gets me more and more hype for Dune and the Batman, the same cinematographer for those two films.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Really?
Yeah.
We're a treat, aren't we?
Yep,
And
great
Michael,
Fraser. That guy knows how to do shots.
Yeah, and Michael Giacchino, I'm a big fan of his work. I think he always gets a pretty, his career is pretty interesting in regards to, you think of the big budget films where he's kind of coming in and, taking on an Incredibles or Spider-Man Homecoming, this film, one of the first films to kind of go outside of John Williams, and him, again, attaching to the Batman, which just gets me, again, just even more excited for that film. But no, I'm just, again, every time I watch this film, I just get blown away by the filmmaking aspect of it and the lore that they bring in. It's just a fun watch. So again, I'm sorry, I'm listening to what you guys are saying, but I'm at the same time, I'm just kind of looking at all the beautiful visuals that this film is offering, and it just gets me excited too for Cassian's TV show and see where they go, because that was one of the things I really liked about this story was, again, the ground level. There's no Jedi and there's a lightsaber that pops up, but I love these little character moments, and just gets me excited to see what they do with a kind of a spy espionage television show in the Star Wars universe. So
Elliot, I love that you brought up the cinematographer Greig Fraser, because you're right. That guy, again, that guy I first got my attention with. Obviously, he got an Oscar nomination for that movie Lion that came out with Dev Patel in 2016. But don't let that and the latest Squid addition to Star Wars, being poor gullet distracted. To me, at least, this is the most
anyone
scene
kinky?
This entire movie.
Anybody kinky in here?
Careful, Brandon, we're on YouTube. Gotta be careful here. But no, it's I love Fraser's work. Again, like Chris, I actually pointed this out on our Mandalorian episode when we watched the first episode, because Greig Fraser shot the first episode of the Mandalorian, and you can tell like his signature style. Like that guy knows how to shoot stuff and make it look good. And he also actually shot the Christian Bale, Dick Cheney movie Vice as well. And again, his skill, it just shows it holds up. But bringing it back, it's funny because I think it's Ethan's Music Box was actually the one that commented about the Talkin CG, and I just wanted to get your guys' take on that whole thing, because I heard a lot of different thoughts on that, where it's like some people felt that he didn't even need to be in the movie, like you could have just had Krennic's part in place of Tarkin. You didn't really need Tarkin. Me personally, I think it works, But again, like just me as the overall bigger Star Wars fan, where I think, okay, I like seeing like kind of the political backlash and seeing how like not everything works. But again, that's something that may work better in the animated series than it does in Rebels. So like, what's kind of your guys' whole thoughts on Tarkin's involvement in this whole movie?
I personally thought it fit just because, again, the connection to, A New Hope for me personally. So I thought it was a pretty good addition. And the CGI, again, these films this film came out in 2016. The visuals obviously have come miles ahead in regards to when, Star Wars came out in the 70s. But, I definitely could see the nitpicking of the visual effects and the uncanny valley of it all. But to me, it didn't really affect my overall, kind of feelings on the film in regards to him coming back and the way he looked.
Yeah, I don't think it would have resonated with me quite as much if it was Krennic. Like I said, it didn't really take me out of it. I actually thought they did a pretty good job on it, especially now we're, almost 5 years out from this film?
Yeah.
And that kind of technology has even come such a long way since then. So if anything, it really just impresses me.
I think there's the morality issue of it too. As soon as, Carrie Fisher passed away, everyone's like, oh no, we're not going to do CGI Princess Leia because, it's just out of respect for her. But then someone might say, well, then where's your respect for Peter Cushing? Like after this movie, all the actors were putting in their contracts saying you cannot use my likeness long after I'm dead. You know what I'm saying? And I do get it. Like the effects themselves don't really bother me. The morality issue, I won't really touch on that because that's just a whole other can of worms. But then again, I think you could have written around it to make Krennic the main villain, which makes this film just a bit more fresh and unique and standalone. You know what I mean? But I see both sides. I don't mind that he's in there, but if they didn't have him in there right around it, I feel like Krennic's character could have even been stronger.
Yeah, I definitely get that. And real quick, before you guys continue, I'm just going to say right now, because we just saw the introduction of Donnie Yen and Donnie Yen's character, Chirrut Imwe, and I'm just going to say right now, biggest missed opportunity of this movie was not making him a Jedi. Like, he may as well already be a Jedi. Just make him like a Jedi that's guarding the temple, and just give him a lightsaber. Like, it works. And I personally think that's a huge missed opportunity right there.
Really, I thought it was really strong world building, because we know there are people like Leia who can't quite tap into the Force, but they feel it and they understand it more than just your common civilian, So for me, that just really ties into the beauty of this film and sort of like how I really think the directors of this film understand Star Wars, and more importantly, like we're trying to put it in an even better place at the end of this film after the masses had seen it.
I guess just my thought process on the whole situation is that with how kind of they've tackled the idea of these Force beings that can sense the Force but can't really use it, and how that's gone throughout. Like, look at the Maz Kanata character in The Force Awakens. It just feels like a topic that that seemed like an interesting idea in concept, but they never really felt that interested in actually exploring. So it's like, to me, it's like, yeah, just make those guys Jedi, like make Maz Kanata a Jedi, make Chirrut a Jedi, like, to me, like, with how they took, again, it's an interesting idea in concept, but with how they took it and the direction that they took it, it serves no purpose to the overall Star Wars universe. I'm pretty sure that was an idea that they never touched on again. And especially with, again, Rise of Skywalker, I hate to bring it up, but they basically just threw in their last minute, oh yeah, Leia was trained to be a Jedi, which again, I think is stupid. And I think that the whole point of Leia was that she was, again, showing the different directions of Force users that could come, that Leia was going to be a Force user that was not going to become a Jedi. But yeah, that's just kind of my whole 2 cents on it. Again, a lot of it is on Disney and how they butchered that idea. But yeah.
No, I hear you. I guess that's where we kind of disagree. But I mean, this scene, I always thought was very powerful.
Intense. Yeah, this scene was intense.
I thought it was. This is, to me, like, not to get too political or anything, but like, I think like this is like a very shy nod at like social commentary as well, and it's not like blatantly in your face, but I just think it kind of works to like show that like the real world, can apply to Star Wars, unfortunately. And I think they did it in like, again, an elegant way. It's obviously like a terrible situation, like what's happening in the city right now to the civilians and all that, but we hadn't seen like this kind of craziness in Star Wars yet.
Yeah, it's
very
really
rugged.
hit
Hit me on an emotional level,
Yeah, it's very rugged. It's very in your face. It's very grounded. It doesn't feel like kind of like fun and cutesy. Like people are getting blown to bits left and right. Like, obviously, you have like the greater expanse, with their quest for the Kybers, but it shows it's like, yeah, these rebels are down and dirty. They don't play nice. And like this movie was the first movie to me that really felt like a war movie. Like the whole thing was like, they said that this was going to be a war movie, a true war movie set in Star Wars verse. And to me, at least, they delivered on that 110%.
Yeah, I like how the cinematography is all very ground level. Like, it's all shaky.
Yeah.
There's no like big, huge, wide shot.
Right.
You know what I mean? It does definitely feel like a on the grounds, you know, like in the thick of things kind of thing.
Yeah.
And in terms of the Force users, I actually agree with kind of both of Chris and Dom. Like I see both sides, and I love this.
That was great. This is great.
Yeah.
Did you know that was me?
Did you know that was me? Yeah. Like,
Great.
I love it. But in terms of the Force users, like I get the concept of, you know, like if you have, you know, pick a religion in the real world, you know, you have Christianity, you know, you have like the Pope, and then you have the priests, right? I guess you can call them the Jedi Knights, but then you have like the followers of that religion. So they're people who, you know, follow the Force and they pray and I get that too. But then also on Dom's point, you know, it's like Maz Kanata, Chirrut Emwe, they're people who can like sense the Force as well. I feel like being a believer in it and being able to use it could be two different things. And yeah, it's a slippery slope for sure. But I do understand both sides of that argument.
Yeah, like I was saying, like I get the idea, and it's an interesting idea. I just that with how Disney chose to carry through with that idea, they just seem to never have any interest in going through with it. And every single chance they had to subvert it, they were just like, nope, those guys were just secretly Jedi the whole time. So it's like, so I'm like, wow, okay, so the mother studio didn't even have any interest in this idea that was brought up.
Yeah, I love how I'm kind of coming across as the Disney defender for the first time.
It's crazy.
You know, it's something new every day, as they like to say.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because it's so funny because like this to me is like the anti-Disney movie. Like every choice in this movie actually feels like it was made risky. Like it's almost like the looking back with how this movie is compared to like what came after. It's insane to me, like how they were able to get these movies past like kind of like the Disney, you know, kid centers, you know, just like, oh, how are, you know, and the Disney marketers were like, oh, I don't know how well we're going to be able to sell these toys if all these characters get, you know, are if a lot of these characters get killed in this movie, you know, because the whole thing is that goes all the way back to '92 with Batman Returns, where the whole reason why that movie was a flop is because McDonald's pulled the toy advertising because they thought the movie was too dark. Which again, that looking back, that movie is like almost comical in comparison, but still, it's just, I just find that really funny.
Mm-hmm. David, what are you thinking, man?
Yeah, the fact that they're using Donnie Yen as wrecking shit, Mr. Ip Man. I just saw Ip Man 4, the finale, too, a couple weeks ago. Dude, if you have not seen that yet, it'll bring a tear to your eye. It is the final conclusion in the Ip Man series. I'll just say that. And it was a beautiful send-off. But no, I'm having fun. I'm loving it. I like to see the grittier side, too. I can definitely see what you guys are saying as far as the other movies being a little, I don't know if it's toned down, but it's a little more cleaner. You don't really get to notice. This guy looks like half Iron Man, by the way. His pack on the back.
He looks like old school classic Iron Man. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really digging a lot of these characters, especially that droid there. You guys said his name was Caspian? Is that who it is?
Yeah, the droid is K2SO. Diego Luna is Cassian Andor.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah, but I know I'm loving the development of these characters working together, you know, trying to achieve this mission. And yeah, this is pretty real life gritty stuff here. I mean, stuff that was happening, you know. I mean, yeah, you can apply it to real life, of course, a couple of years ago back or whatnot. But yeah, I mean, the fact that Donnie Yen is not a Jedi, it's kind of disappointing to hear that.
Yeah. Because literally, no joke, it's funny. I was watching a full fat video because I don't know if any of you guys follow full fat videos on YouTube. It's one of my favorite YouTube channels. Is that what's it called? He even said he's not a fan of this movie, and his whole thing, and he actually brought up the idea of Donnie Yen being a Jedi, literally to the point where he did that that edit that I know a lot of YouTubers do, which is where they take like a lot of popular fights and they insert like lightsaber blades on them. I know they did that with a lot of Arya's fights in Game of Thrones, and they did the same thing with Donnie Yen. But I'm like literally imagining, like, yeah, basically replace the stick with the lightsaber. Like, yeah, that's like one of the best lightsaber fights we ever get in Star Wars history. That like tops the whole.
He said, "Are you kidding me? I'm blind." That was awesome.
That was good. Yeah. That was really good. That's what I mean. The one-liners in this movie are on point.
Yeah. Hey, Joe, I feel like this next scene that's coming up is one that you're not going to like just because of all the Saw Gerrera stuff. And they're talking about all these, like, what should be deep character stuff, but we never saw it. You know, and Jen, you know, is like, you didn't train me to do this. You did this. Well, I did that. It's like, we don't know anything what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, that's the big part of the movie where it's like, yeah, that's a lot of telling and not showing.
Yeah.
And I think when I first saw it, that's what kind of irritated me. I was like, who is this guy? What are we supposed to know about him? And am I supposed to care?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And it's not that all these characters are awful. I feel like we just didn't get a chance to really, really care about any of them enough like, you know, like cut out a couple of them and just focus on those, and I think then you got it set.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I agree with you.
So you guys think this movie is a little too busy then, in regards to like how much they cram into the 2 hours?
Well, just because like the fact that we have all these characters and we have to, you know, we have to make sure that Bodhi Rook is the pilot that defects, and then we got Jyn Erso who got trained by Saw Gerrera but has the father to this and this and this, and you have Cassian Andor and you have this and this. It's like, where is the real emotional heart of the movie? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I get it. The whole, and I don't know who brought it up, but they kind of used the Mad Max Fury Road reference where like the whole, you know, reason to really get invested in that story is just the struggle against the power, right? What's the, you guys just did the watch along. Who's the big evil baddie?
Mortal Joe.
Yeah.
Mortal Joe. So he, like, you just show his dominance over everything and just the fight against the power. It's pretty liberating, right? And, you know, the fight against the Death Star can be that liberating, but, you know, I just feel like it just got kind of muddled along the way.
See, I disagree, though, in terms of the characters and caring for them, because I definitely think that while there are a ton of characters that are thrown at you in this, I definitely right away jumped on, okay, this is the core that we need to focus on. That is, you know, going to be, we're going to follow it through the whole movie. And I like the way that a little bit more is revealed about Jyn Erso as things go on, and you learn more about why you should care. Instead of just like, hey, here's why you should care and have fun. Here's the 2 hour movie.
Yeah.
I like the structure of it a lot. I don't like him. He can go.
Right.
But you know, I totally understand what you're saying. I didn't get that from it. I think the character development here, as a strength, they just kind of dove in and went for it.
In terms of developing Jyn Erso's character right here.
Well, no, not just here, but the whole movie. I think, you know, like throwing you into the mix with Jyn Erso and just seeing that little thing at the beginning, and then seeing, like, getting the little inklings that get dropped throughout the rest of the film. I liked that a lot. But, you know, when you have this many characters, they kind of have to throw everything at you right away to get them all, you know, involved.
Right.
And I like that because I guess I like more chaotic films. And to me, this is a little chaotic because it, you know, you're kind of like, all right, well, let's go along for the ride and figure things out. So when you do figure that out and you're given the pieces to put that puzzle together, I love it. With Saul, you don't get that.
Right.
So there's certain characters in here that I totally understand your viewpoint and agree with you.
Yeah.
But then there's others that I'm like, oh, I'm fine with them.
Yeah. And I understand what you mean, and I guess I should be a little bit more clear, where it's not like I don't need to know everything about the certain character right away, but just have that little inkling of a little bit more emotional heart. Like, you know, he's right here. He's like, you're gonna betray me? Like, I don't know how you can do that. We have such a strong connection. What connection? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
just kind of trim the fat, if you will, and it's not.
I agree
overacts a
with
lot
you
of
on
it.
that. I'll lift my blinders up for like 30 seconds here to sort of agree with Brando on that. Although I do think, however, that I really like Forrest Whitaker in this role. I don't think he's the problem, but I think he maybe was a little underutilized. I can see that, and I can see a case being made for that. But I really do think he clicks with this role, especially because, like, in my opinion, this is kind of like a different character that we've seen from Star Wars, you know, like we know people are fighting for their lives and on their last breath, like, you know, kind of quite literally, but we never really get to meet them until now. So I guess I more so appreciate what he does and what this film really does as a whole for the world building. But I can agree with you on that. Like, the connection could be certainly stronger between the two here because it's not a perfect film. But we're talking about a Disney Star Wars film too. I think that is important to note. You know, this is one of the better Disney Star Wars films, in my opinion.
It's just so funny because I wanted to point out two things. One, obviously, that Forrest Whitaker in this movie's got the same problem that Dennis Hopper does in Blue Velvet, where he's constantly got to breathe out of that little tube thing. Who knows? Is that oxygen or is it nitrous? We don't know. But also, it just reminded me. I don't know where this came from. Just a funny little tidbit. It just keeps reminding me of Donald Glover with his line in that first season of Community in the Christmas episode, where he's like, okay,
always
that's
back
great.
to Community.
Yeah,
dude,
of course.
He's on a binge,
always
man. He's
back
on
to
a
Community,
binge.
dude. Are you kidding? It's the best sitcom ever made, where he's just like, okay, that's good. Now you give the Forrest Whitaker eye. Then he does that. I'm like, that's perfect. That's great.
So we're at exactly 43 minutes. Everyone in the chat who's kind of wondering where they can jump in with us, if you're just joining, we're at 43 minutes. Thank you guys for being here so far. I mean, I'm having a blast so far. And if you guys wouldn't mind giving this video a thumbs up, maybe some more people could stumble upon it and join this chat. But for those of you who are here, 43 minutes in, and things are about to start getting real, I would say, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If your surround sound speakers, crank it.
Yeah,
Get
seriously.
Yeah,
That's
for
the
real.
other thing too, is you just got to appreciate the sound design in this movie. It's incredible.
David, I cannot wait for you to see what is coming, my friend.
Yeah,
pretty
it's
visual.
one of my favorite action sequences in this
Get a
movie.
towel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, get a towel, dude. Get a towel, get a bucket, whatever you need.
It's a little slider in there.
I'm getting ready.
You're a towel.
Yeah, one thing I dropped, I was like, Forrest Whitaker has a tendency to overact, and it
Yes.
seems like
Very
it
much
seems
so.
like he's auditioning for these parts as they're recording. It's like, dude, you're an actor already. You got the part. Don't like.
And
You
he
don't have
just
to
keeps
overact.
going.
And he just
Yeah.
keeps going and going. I noticed that in Black Panther. I've noticed that in a lot of other films that he's been in. He always seems to try to overshine other actors, and it's
Mhm.
not natural. It doesn't seem natural to me.
Yeah.
That's just my personal perspective on seeing
agree
him
with you,
act
David.
sometimes.
You're spot
you know?
on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know that's a big thing for me, and it's kind of a big problem that I have with his Oscar winner movie, Last King of Scotland, where he is just overacting his ass off in that movie, and I'm like, where's the subtlety there? You know,
I think it worked there.
It's almost like theater acting, you know, they kind of take it
Mhm.
from the theater to the big screen, and it's like, okay, they haven't learned to tone it down a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean, like, and again, I always try to, of course, when you hear like a new casting thing for Star Wars, your mind goes crazy. It's like, oh, who are they gonna play? Who are they gonna play? And like, what are they gonna do? I always thought, and again, this is not a gripe on the movie. This is just my own personal, like, I thought this, but when they said Forrest Whitaker, I could imagine him like around like a rebellion, seeing like a map. It's like, all right, see this base right here? This is what we gotta hit. And then we got to do this. And it's like, I could totally see him doing that, but that's just my own personal, like, if I were making Star Wars, this is what I would do. And of course, I don't try to bring that into my thoughts of a film, because it's never going to live up to whatever you imagine in your head.
right? And that's always
It's
the
a dangerous path to walk, my friend.
Yeah, you can never do that. And I know people who do, and they just get so disappointed.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, what did you expect? You weren't making the movie.
I'm trying to
Right.
figure out. For a while here, I've been like staring at Saw Gerrera, trying to figure out like what he reminds me of or what character he reminds me of. And he kind of reminds me of like Marv of the Sticky Bandits in Home Alone.
Oh my God, you're right.
That's it. I
You're
couldn't
totally
pinpoint
right.
it. But
You're
like that,
absolutely
Wow.
right with the hair and
The
everything.
hair, yeah.
I mean, that was all a choice, and I
Spot
am
on.
not thinking it was a great one.
Spot on with that comparison
Sticky
right there.
bandits.
Now, Dom, quick question
Yeah.
for you, man. In regards to Saw Gerrera's character,
Absolutely.
this was the first time, minus live action or animated, was this the first time we've seen him on any screen, or was he already in the universe prior to this film?
Well, that's what I was pointing to before, is that that character appeared in the first couple episodes of season 5 of the Clone Wars, where he's there. There's an arc on Onderon which is his home planet, where Anakin and Ahsoka head there to assist these rebels that are on Onderon, and he is leading the charge there. And the whole thing is that Ahsoka accidentally is involved in the death of his sister, which kind of like breaks something. And then obviously, as time went on and the Republic transitioned into the Empire and everything, he actually came back in Rebels, but obviously he was kind of a lot more unhinged. His tactics, his whole thing is that he became so scary and so deadly against the Empire that like the main Rebel Alliance just didn't want to be associated with him. So that's the whole thing.
And this was prior to Rogue One, or
This
after
was
Rogue
prior.
One?
This was prior to Rogue One, because that arc, because season 5 of Rebels, that would have been in 2012 when that aired, those first couple episodes, and this was released in 2016. So this is technically his second appearance within the overall Star Wars canon.
I guess too, going back to like our Rogue One or our Han Solo to a lesser degree in regards to, playing a different character in the Star Wars universe. This interpretation for the animated version to live action, is it? Because I know you guys were talking about his performance. Is it like so night and day, or is it he was trying to play the character?
I think the big difference here is that obviously you're taking a very minor character versus two very major, very well-known characters. Like you take Han Solo and Lando Calrissian, right? You better get those two characters right, because those two characters are so well-known. And seeing what Alden and Donald bring to the part, like they're not giving bad performances, but the problem is that the performances that they are giving are just so different than what we come to know with those two characters, that it feels bizarre. But versus with somebody like Saw Gerrera, that's not like a very popular, well-known character, you know, because he's only been seen on the animated front. So it's kind of a situation where, okay, even if it's not the most accurate to the character, it still like is a lot more forgivable because not as many people know about it. You know, everybody knows Han Solo, everybody knows Lando Calrissian, but like, how many people do you know outside of our community that know who Saw Gerrera is? You know, like I was when I found out that like Forrest Whitaker was playing a character from Rebels, I was geeking out because I'm like, oh wow, that's so cool. They're bringing a character from Clone Wars and putting him in live action. This stuff is all connected. And I was telling my family that, they were like, who the hell is that guy? You know,
just another way these animated shows help push the envelope, man.
Yeah.
But it's getting real now, guys. It is getting real. I'm
Death
just
Star
like,
just made
this is where it gets hard for me to focus on this on this live stream we're doing right now, because
I feel like that just shows the power
you know?
of and the difference between this movie and our last watch. Because Solo, we were constantly talking and trying to come up with new things, because I just feel like we were becoming more and more bored with that movie as it went on. But this movie, we are just constantly enraptured. Like, look at this visual, like look at this imagery, look at this action. Like, there's not a single minute of this movie where I could look away, even if the story wasn't the strongest. It's very, very strange. Like
I love in movies doing that recently. Oh, sorry. I love in movies when this is just a personal thing, but whenever there's something like chasing, like just like a giant explosion or like a big doomsday thing, and when people are just like screaming, like "We gotta go now!" Like,
I love that.
Where it's just you escape. Like, I don't know, whenever that happens, I just tense up. That's when I can get really excited.
And also,
it adds to it, man. It definitely adds to it. I feel you on that.
And also,
I mean, you've seen it time and time again, but you're right. It never gets old. They've done the right way, and I think this film right now really is the intensity is like. I mean, it's in you. It's literally in your face.
And specifically with this scene too, it's the fact of we already have this build up, this expectation in our heads of what the Death Star does. You know, the Death Star fire is being planned. It just goes boom, and we see it in the distance. You know, Force Awakens kind of started to expand on that. You know, obviously with the Star Killer base, we saw that the close-ups of the face to me was what was missing from that original Star Wars movies. We saw the close-ups of the faces of people as they saw like the death rays coming as they were about to be obliterated. But here they take that shit up to 11 because we see because they don't actually blow up the planet, but in a way they almost do something that's even worse. Where it's like they blow up one city and you just see like the collateral damage unfold. You just see like the reaction from everyone, like all this craziness. To me, like this is a Roland Emmerich scene right here. This is literally a Roland Emmerich scene, and it's done so well.
What impresses me more than anything happening on screen right now is Joe's commitment to the hashtag Justice for Solo as a planet is being shattered in front of us. Death Star in full effect. And Joe, I love it, Joe. I love it. I'll never change, dude.
I also just enjoy that, like, when Saw Gerrera was about to be, like, destroyed, he was like took off his oxygen, like like, all right, buddy.
He did the Idris Elba from Prometheus. He's like, hands up. He did that.
Yeah, I'm like, all right,
that was cool.
Yeah, that was like a total Forrest Whitaker moment.
Yeah, thanks for your contribution. Goodbye.
You know, I like to think he improv there. They were like, dude, you have like full creative freedom in this moment. Like, you could wave, you could, like that Office bit where they're filming the commercial, and they're like, you can wave, you can sit down, you can smile. He's like, I'm gonna unplug this. I'm with you. He's not a perfect actor. I just kind of like him in that character.
Yeah, I think he's a good actor. I like him as an actor.
Yeah, he's definitely a good actor.
I just don't like him in this character.
Definitely interesting what happens here again. Like, it's all like little stuff that happens, and I love the machination where he's just like, oh wow, it looks like your thing does work. Okay, now I'm gonna take credit for it. And he's like, wait, what? I love that. It's so quick that you'll blink. If you blink, you'll miss it. But I love it.
Yeah, I just thought of something too. Having Krennic as our like main villain, but he has to report to someone who also reports to Darth Vader, who also reports to the Emperor. It kind of like belittles him.
Right. You know but I mean? It also makes him more of a threat too, because it just makes him that much more of an insecure character. In a way, like it makes him kind of almost more interesting than almost all the rebels, because it's like he's just kind of like, I'm just this victim over and over again. I'm just trying to get this thing made and actually impress the Emperor and make my mark, and I constantly get stepped on every single chance I get.
So this is kind of what I was thinking. Like, look at all of the older men on this scene who are clearly like the higher ranking officers in the darker gray. Like, all their hair is like, just gray. They all look so tired. Like, how tired do you think it has to be to answer to Sith Lords and run an empire? Because none of these guys ever look
the next show. Working
Dude,
for
I think they're just looking. They're just waiting for like a liberal movement, like the AOC of
the empire. Yeah. Dude,
powering through.
the office on the Death
They
Star.
all just look
Yeah.
so exhausted, you know? And like, yeah, sure, these rebels right now, like, you know, like they're tired, but they're gung ho about it. You know, they got some umph in their step, dude. But all these Imperial commanders, they're just like, they got bags for days, man. I don't know if that's good makeup or just like them just getting into the character, but it's gotta be a mixture in my
Probably
mind.
just exhausting being on that set for that
Yeah,
long.
British dudes.
You know, like
And they-
16 hours.
Yeah, they're all British too.
Oh, British.
Yeah.
I love
And they
it.
do a
I
lot of
love
just
it.
standing around as characters.
Yeah.
That's funny. That reminds me of that Family Guy flashback when Peter goes, "Hey, you know what really grinds my gears? And when you forget where you put your droid." And they just show 2 stormtroopers, and he's like, "Yeah, what gives with that?"
Yeah.
You guys seen that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
You
Yeah,
guys
that's
don't have
good.
to lie. You guys have not seen it.
I'm not gonna
I
lie
watched
with you.
that.
I have not
Yeah.
seen it.
We thought. Yeah,
I watched that episode.
David, you've out Star Wars me.
Empire's out here being run by the boomers. Even that's a good one. I like that.
Yeah. Pop quiz. Anyone know the name of the planet they're going to in order to find Galen?
Oh,
Shootabutu.
oh God, no! Don't tell me.
I want to see if anybody actually guesses. I actually remember this one.
Oh,
You remember everything.
I feel like I
Not
know
true.
this. I know this. Scarif is the one later.
Yeah.
This one
We're
is
just on Jeddah. They had Wobani at first.
Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. Just tell me.
Edu.
Right. Yeah.
Edu, yeah. The rain planet, as I call it.
I'll take that as an L for me.
I think that this was about like the last movie where I was just like, okay, this is the last movie where I actually remember any of the names of the planets. It's like I barely remember any of the names of the planets from Force Awakens, with the exception of Jakku, and I always just know Jakku is Tatooine 2.0 because it's another desert planet. Like they don't even try to change the look of it. Yeah, and I remember Hosnian Prime, and I remember the Ilenian system from Force Awakens. That's it. But this movie, like this, just made like such an impact in my brain where it's like, wow, I just remember like every single movie in planet in this thing. And now this middle section of the movie is the section that a lot of people will point to as also being kind of really boring and tedious.
Oh, is that me?
I'm gonna go out.
Yes, but
I'm
I still
sorry.
think that there's some merit to it. Again, it satisfies Jin.
Oh, what just happened?
I have no idea, but yeah,
Stop
I'm
talking.
Okay.
But
I
no, we're
think
good.
so. It just went silent like in the middle of a sentence. That's why I was like freaking out. I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I saw him still moving, so I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I can just imagine just going. So my thoughts are.
Yeah,
and then it like
Brandon.
cuts out right in the middle of the stream.
That's me on every live stream I've done before tonight.
Yeah.
And last night especially, I was just like, oh God.
And that's what I thought down in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's the scale again. It's just so good. And I think getting Gareth Edwards as a director, I think this movie's really well directed. For
Absolutely.
So what's the what's the behind the scenes with that? Isn't what's his name
Yeah,
Gilroy? Wasn't he kind
Tony
of
Gilroy
the
was
behind the scenes of
it was kind of a Josh Trank situation where they fired him in between things. I don't know if they fired him or if he just left and or he just wasn't available.
Gilroy
for
was
reshoots.
more I'm gonna say he was more he manned it the reshoots versus Gareth Edwards coming in and kind of finishing it out.
Right, but it was more than just the reshoots. He also I think he rewrote the entire third act too.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Which again
interesting because that
always
seems
baffles me with the whole from a pitch to pre-productions going to production. Like, what was it that they Gareth Edwards' vision? What was the disconnect with Disney
however
and,
many different moving parts there are? Because the whole thing is that it's a common problem that I found. It's weirdly enough like it's kind of the same problem that I have with Godzilla, where Gareth Edwards really knows how to tell a scaled up story and like just have this massive size story and have it be so like personable and relatable, but in terms of just stringing it together and making it flow, like it's like every single one of his movies, they just like need one more rewrite in order to like be great,
Yeah, I think that's the script part, not necessarily his fault, but
okay,
yeah, but I understand what you mean for sure.
On Edu,
yeah, this
the Rain Planet,
and yeah, it is kind of funny to think, Rogue One, then Solo, then Rise of Skywalker, and like how fast Kathleen Kennedy is just able just to fire a director or just to nope, not working out.
Yep. And it's so strange too how the only movie where she has like no problems with anyone behind the scenes turns out, what turns out to be like the most divisive and problematic Star Wars movie. I just find that funny because obviously, and because even Force Awakens isn't clear with that, because Force Awakens, nobody really talks about that because everyone was just so enraptured when that movie came out. But Force Awakens, the whole thing was they had a huge problem because Michael Arndt was originally going to write the script. He was one of the co-writers for Toy Story 3. He was originally going to write the script, and he had an idea. Like, that was the idea. I don't know if any of you guys remember the idea where it's like it's Luke's hand floating through space and it's found, and that's what kicks off the movie. And I remember hearing that idea way back in 2014, and then they completely ditched that idea when JJ came on board. And there was like a big problem. Michael Arndt ended up getting fired, and then JJ brought on Lawrence Kasdan to write the script and basically did A New Hope over and again. But yeah, Force Awakens like had those behind-the-scenes production problems too.
That's already like a way cooler entrance to anything we've gotten. And Joe, I gotta say, man, you are quick with the trigger, dude. Taika is likely gonna do a film focused on the chess pieces from the Millennium Falcon. You know, I wouldn't be surprised.
Wouldn't be opposed to that.
But it'd probably be good as well, to say the least. You know, better than the schlock that we got from this new trilogy. That's for sure.
It's funny if I could just jump ship to Taika real quick. What are your guys' thoughts on Taika directing a movie? Because I've been a little bit more hit or miss on Taika's movies than I would have liked to have been. Because the whole thing was I love What We Do in the Shadows. That movie was like, whoa, okay, this guy, who is this guy? And what is his next movie going to be? And what is he going to direct? And I was super pumped when I found out that he was directing a Marvel movie. And then when I watched Thor Ragnarok, I gotta admit, that movie is not one of my favorite Marvel movies. I think that movie's got a lot of problems, and I kind of am a little confused as to why so many people still like that movie. But then I love Jojo Rabbit. I absolutely love Jojo Rabbit. I think that was one of the best movies that came out of last year. And then with his work on The Mandalorian and the finale, I'm like, wow, this is like one of the best like TV season finales I've ever seen. But he basically made it all about himself. Because my whole thing with Taika is that when he's focusing on an area that he has a lot of passion for and can be really genuine, he can be really genuine. But with his humor, it's very, very on the edge of like can almost like get to like trolling levels of humor and kind of feel disingenuous. And that's kind of a big problem that I have with some of the humor in Thor Ragnarok. So like, what's kind of your guys' whole thoughts on that?
So I love Thor Ragnarok. I think it's one of the best Marvel movies because I like what Taika is able to do with characters in terms of finding underplayed characteristics of the characters and bringing them out to the forefront so that you start identifying with different parts of them than you have in the past. That's how he reinvigorated the Thor character, which I argue would not give us the great Thor moments we got, or we wouldn't have the great Thor moments that we ended up with in later movies without that, such as Infinity War and Endgame. I think you also see it on a different level with a story set back in the days of Hitler with Jojo Rabbit. He's able to take a story and bring it down to a human level, as well as inject some humor. So I would love to see a kooky guy like him come into Star Wars and play around with this world to take us somewhere where we haven't been, because clearly just by bringing in the same old people like they have been, we're not going anywhere, and we're running in place.
Yeah, definitely. And I can see that. Yeah. Luck Critics actually in the comments brought up a really good idea, is that I completely forgot this, is that Taika did not write the script for Thor Ragnarok. And that actually makes a lot of sense and might explain for some of the tonal divides. And yeah, so thanks for answering my question there that I had. So yeah, I guess as long as Taika gets free reign to do whatever he wants, then you'll get something good. Because I still think that was a very well-deserved Oscar win for JoJo for adapted screenplay.
Yeah, no,
I love Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah, me too. I'm a big Taika Waititi fan, and I'm kind of on the fence on the directing news, just because I feel like it's kind of the same thing that Disney was doing back when they kind of took acquiring Lucasfilm, which is kind of like picking the hottest director out, and hopefully it works out. J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson, and Trevor, who's coming off of obviously Jurassic Park. But again, kind of the same thing goes with Taika Waititi's the biggest name right now in Hollywood. So let's he did a pretty good job in The Mandalorian. Let's bring him into the mix. But again, on the other side, like I said, I'm a big Taika Waititi fan, and I'm excited to see what they do with the future films, because I always look at what they're doing with TV, and this is what I hope that Marvel does too, is they're going to use their TV directors, a la Deborah Chow, and let them do a Obi-Wan Kenobi movie and maybe translate over to the big screen, or have someone handle another character on the TV show and use that platform and have them translate to the big screen as well. So I'm interested to see what what the future of Star Wars looks like in regards to the casting, or the directing. But I'm a Taika fan, so I'm always rooting for him, and I'm hoping he gives us something new and unique.
Yeah, Elliot, you basically took the words right out of my mouth. Where, yeah, the difference obviously being is that it's not just Kathleen pulling random like hot button directors that seem to be like have just had like the latest like highest grossing movie. You know, like it's again kind of the difference between her and Jon Favreau. Like, and I think that's kind of what hopefully will be with Star Wars going forward. Is that Favreau, unlike Kennedy, he came from kind of the same world as them. He came from kind of that indie world, so he knows kind of like how to work with those directors and their sensibilities. You know, that's why you were able to have, to me at least, a much more cohesive product overall on The Mandalorian. You know, where you get a guy like Rick Famuyiwa, who did Dope, and Deborah Chow,
who's be amazing, dude.
Yeah, and Bryce Dallas Howard and Taika Waititi with the finale, and you basically give but you have all those different like creative tastes in there, and Filoni doing the first live action thing he's ever directed, and it just that entire series feels like one seamless, cohesive product. So I definitely think that after his experience on The Mandalorian, like Taika is definitely gonna be able to do with Star Wars. So I was kind of unsatisfied with what he did with Thor Ragnarok.
But I would argue in Star Wars more so than any other franchise, if you're going to do a trilogy or you're going to do a series of films that build on one another,
get one person to do all of them.
Get one person to do them.
I agree.
Do not change that up, because
I agree 110%.
Time and time again that when Star Wars gives up or changes direction in terms of creative control, then the floodgates open with whoever has input, and we end up with a disjointed, third series or third trilogy like we just had. And we talked about this on Solo. If JJ would have had that from the beginning, I don't think maybe people still wouldn't have been happy, and that's probably true. Yeah. But I think we would have had a very different series.
See, it's funny that you mentioned that, because the whole thing that everybody like seems to forget is that the original Star Wars trilogy was not directed all by Lucas. It's funny because the only
he did produce.
Because the whole
they had a plan, plan.
Right, they did have a
exactly
plan. Right, but I just find it funny.
Through line, the connective tissue was there.
The only
Elliot loves to say.
The only trilogy that was actually directed entirely by one person was the prequel trilogy, which is what I just find funny. I think the difference being, again, is that, again, one creative mind, one producer. Lucas is still involved. You guys are absolutely right. Like, in the floodgates, he's producing everything. A lot of people said he basically ghost-directed Return of the Jedi. What's it called? And that was the big difference, is that Kathleen Kennedy, again, she only saw it from a producer standpoint. She had no through plan, no through line. There was no continuing story. She just said, okay, this is a hot button director, boom, you have your movie. This is a hot button director, boom, you have your movie. No sort of connecting tissue that reinforcing.
We literally have a living example of how clueless, in my opinion, she is. If you watch the Mandalorian gallery, which for whatever reason why I've been watching, maybe it's slow TV time, whatever, it's quarantine, and she's on the second episode and she's sitting there with like some of the special effects guys, and like, I just don't see the passion from her. I don't see the understanding of, like, it almost seems dangerous for her to have made that appearance and sort of be given that much screen time on a half-hour episode. Like, it does not help her case at all being on that episode. And another thing, it's like, okay, cool, Taika Waititi, he's announced. Do we know anything else about the film? No, we don't. Like, I'm sick of all these empty announcements from Star Wars. This comes from something that was, brought to my attention on the Rule of Two podcast, but I think they're right, man. It's like, I'm really just, and I know it's not just Star Wars, but like the state Star Wars is in, especially like, you got to give us something to hang on to here, because we've said this ad nauseum on the Solo watch along. Like, I think we all kind of, in a sense, feel it's not going in the best direction that we all had hoped when Disney acquired it,
Kind of on that point that Chris was mentioning, and Joe, in regards to direction, and if you do a trilogy, having one person on. But I guess just on a creative standpoint, obviously everyone would love to get their hands on Star Wars if you're a director, writer, actor, whatever the case may be. Some people might even do it for free. But in regards to the state, going with Chris is saying, the state of Star Wars, if you're a director, do you really want to lock yourself down for 6 to 10 years of your life for this toxicity that we're getting in the Star Wars universe? Right. And also an independent director a la Taika Waititi or Deborah Chow that are known for their smaller independent films and now coming up in the Hollywood ranks. Do you really want to see them be locked into this universe for the next XYZ amount of years? You don't get a Jojo Rabbit. You don't get a, of that nature. Like, what are you guys' thoughts on that whole, again, go back to Joe, one director, three trilogies, which is like a 10 to 15 year commitment to that. I actually
have a couple responses to that. One, the fact that you're 100% right. I mean, obviously I feel like the only person that was able to successfully do that was Christopher Nolan, because he was able to have like kind of his own successful little ventures in between each of the Batman movies, right? But obviously, that's a different time. It's the late 2000s versus now. But the other that I have to say in response to that is, again, first off, Chris, to your point of kind of the empty announcement, that's something you can blame on Disney and just studios in general, and mostly just the press, where it's like they make those announcements just to like get the press talking, when really like those announcements are things that have already happened and been booked like months ago. You know, we always hear, but like we just heard today that Timothy Olyphant was cast in The Mandalorian season 2, but that was a cast that we know happened months ago. You know, that's just the state of the biz. But in terms of kind of one person kind of overseeing everything, you're right. You don't want to get locked down in something like that for like however many years of your life, because it takes away from creative endeavors. But two things: one, it's Star Wars. And so if you don't like get any creative endeavors there, then I don't know what you're doing. But also, it's a fact that if it was some indie director like a Mark Webb or a Josh Trank that have been locked down for a giant trilogy, then yeah, that's worrisome. But this is JJ. This is the guy who basically like made his mark of saying, okay, I am the blockbuster guy, you know? And then he walks after one movie, like just because, like, but and you know, Chris and I have talked about this ad nauseum, how he's so notorious for that. But it really is like getting like annoying, where it's like, dude, just like, come on, you're clearly talented, you know, just like do something. Like, do you have that little faith in yourself, you know?
I think I'll walk back what I said earlier about the director, and I'll definitely agree that it's more of the creative direction and at least having a plan. So whether that's a consulting producer or whatever it is, like, they can stay involved in that and still work on other things. We see that time and time again. I think that's what we need. And just real quick to throw this in, and then I'm going to shut up for a few minutes. The thing with Kathleen Kennedy that's really interesting is I'm reading this book, and Elliot, I mentioned this last night, so I apologize if this is a repeat, but I'm reading this book, Disney War, about the days of Michael Eisner when he first came on and tried to revive Disney, and especially their film and animation studios. And Kathleen Kennedy was a partner of his early on. I believe she was at Paramount. I may be wrong on that, but she was involved in some of the hits of the late 80s and early 90s.
Yeah.
So when it comes to Hollywood, and Brando, you can probably speak to this a little bit more, but we understand that there is such a commitment to individuals that have had success over the years. And it's incestuous in that way that we keep like seeing the same names involved because they build up such goodwill. I think she's someone that has built up that goodwill. And so when it comes to a large property, such a large property like Star Wars or Marvel or DC or whatever it's going to be, they don't want to just put it in the hands of like the latest up and comer, but they need someone larger than life in the industry to navigate it.
I just think it all comes down to, like, when you build a house, you want to have the blueprints first, and you want to have a foundation before you start adding, the first floor, and then we got someone else. Oh, I want to have like a waterfall and a water slide. Well, that's going to totally destroy the aesthetic of the house. Let's get the other guy back on. Well, I guess I can't get rid of this, so I got to add on this crap, and you have this just wonky ass house with no, it's about to fall apart any minute, and again, like, I actually have no problem bringing on like Taika Waititi or like the hot new director, but at least like have a plan before you go forward, right? And it was pretty clear that, at least to me, that let's get J.J. Abrams will make one movie. Oh crap! Okay, now let's get Rian Johnson. Let's see, he can put the direction this way. Oh crap, we didn't like that. It's so divisive. Let's get J.J. to try to bring this thing together. And if you have a story already established for 3 movies, then you can bring on directors and go, okay, this is the story that we want to tell. Part 1, part 2, part 3. This is the story. Now let's create this trilogy, as opposed to, okay, well, we need to get the one film out, right? Okay, then now what do we do? Now we get the next film out with somebody else, and there's no cohesive through line. So I have no problem bringing Taika Waititi on, but just make sure that, allow him to tell the story that he wants to tell, without Kathleen Kennedy going, well, I wanted you to tell this story. Well, then why didn't you tell it?
Yeah. And to kind of add on top of that, again, this was a trend that I noticed all throughout this past decade, was just this instance of kind of, again, like Joe, to bounce off your points, is that kind of going with the latest hot guy. But the weird thing that all of these big budget blockbuster studios did is they took these indie guys, and they didn't even give them a chance to transition it in, because obviously, the whole kind of path that a lot of directors took back in the day, back in the 90s and 2000s, is they had kind of their one little indie hit that blew everyone up, that everyone was like, oh, wow, who's that guy? Then they had a light transition, like something like a biopic or like a media or like a mid-level budget drama, so that they could transition in and kind of get their feet wet with kind of playing around with, some some of these bigger actors, some of a much bigger production. That way, when it came time to do like this giant, like $300 million production, all these different effects, they were at the very least able to work their way in and be in a position where they at least knew what they were doing. But a big thing that I noticed, not just with Disney, but with a lot of studios, with this Warner Brothers, who do this, Fox and Sony were notorious for this with their superhero movies, is they would pull these guys who had done these like, to like $200, $200,000 movies. Obviously that I'm messing up the numbers, but like the point being is that these guys that have done these very, very small indie movies and putting them in the middle and just sticking them in the middle of these gigantic, like 300 million plus gigantic budget movies. Like these guys have no idea what to do. Like look at Josh Trank with the Fantastic Four movie. Look at with Mark Webb with those amazing Spider-Man movies. Marvel seems to be the one studio that managed to make that work. But the other difference too is that Marvel picked guys who were accomplished. Like when they picked the Russos were basically directing like a different movie genre, a movie a week with those episodes of Community. James Gunn had experience with those types of like those crazy weird like alien movies with with Slither and stuff. So yeah, I think that's kind of like again another situation where a lot of these studios were trying to copy Marvel and just miss what made Marvel work. And now of course we're to Mustafar. Again, this is another scene that was very hit or miss for some people, to like especially coming up with like, again, one of those one-liners that may not work for some people, but to me, I love this scene. I love it's just another reinforcement of, this is where Vader made his home after the incident that befell him. And yeah, I love this scene. I love everything going on with Vader in this movie.
To, I guess, kind of go back to the conversation, and we can kind of move on because this is definitely an awesome scene. But going back to the Kevin Feige thing that Joe brought up, and everyone's bringing up Kevin Feige and Marvel, but to me, it just kind of shows you that this Marvel thing is an anomaly. It's not not a given. It's not every studio can just copy and pace. Even Disney itself, they can't take the model that Kevin Feige and not just Kevin Feige. I know we always bring up Kevin Feige, but there's Nate Moore. There's a lot of other producers that have made Marvel what they are now. Yeah, there's a lot of great people in that team. But again, team. And I think what Star Wars is doing now, going back to the question you guys are posing, why is Disney losing its grip? I think what they're doing now is it took a little bit long, took some stumbling blocks. Same can go with DC. They're assembling a team now with a Jon Favreau, with a Dave Filoni, Fukuwawa. We got 2 new directors coming in, with Robert Rodriguez, in the Star Wars universe. And, they announced some other directors coming into this universe. I think they're now having their hand on the pulse. And I think the direction for Star Wars, again, the whole idea of announcing 10 slates, I think, doesn't work for everyone. Again, we were supposed to get, the guys from Game of Thrones have their trilogy, Rian Johnson trilogy. It was just like the thing to do, announce all these films. But I think the team that they're assembling, there are going to be brighter days for Star Wars, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, me too, man. For everyone who's watching along in the chat right now, we want to say thank you. We're about an hour and a half into this live stream, and exactly an hour and 15 and a half into the film. So if you wanted to know where to pick up right now, we're an hour and almost 16 minutes into this movie. And if you guys are here, kind of let us know what you think about the future of Star Wars and all that. But really what I want to know right now is, Vader makes a pun.
Yeah.
Why?
I love it. I love it. I love it. I absolutely love this line. I get it.
Like David's reaction to it. I'm just curious because he hasn't seen it. So,
is it coming up or did it already happen? I'm kind of shooting out a little bit.
Choke on your aspirations, director.
Ooh,
I love it. I love it.
That's cringe. That's a little cringe territory to me.
It's horrible.
I know you love it, Dom. I already know you love it. I already know you. I already know what you're gonna love and what you're not. You're a community head, so you're gonna love it.
I love that shit
because you think it's comedic.
Shit.
No, I totally get it. But does it
witty one-liners any day?
Joel McHale should really take over the Star Wars.
Right?
Joel McHale as a rebel? Are you kidding me? Give me that movie now. Joel McHale honestly would have been better young Han Solo than Alden Ehrenreich was.
Listen,
I'm telling you, hot take, but I'm telling you,
community vote.
I think they need to keep comedians out of the Star Wars realm. I'm sorry. I mean, when I saw Bill Burr, I was like, I'm out. I mean, and that's a hot take. I understand.
Bad, though.
Mary Sue, come on,
he's one of my favorite comedians. But when I see him on screen, I can't help but laugh.
It's distracting.
You know what I mean? It is very distracting. Exactly. Yeah. So I understand these are great I mean, he's a pretty good actor, you know, for what it is. But it's just if you follow their background, you follow their comedic, their dark humor. It's like you can't help but laugh.
Let's bring Russell Peters in while we're at it. You know, like let's bring like the most famous comedians that we know. Let's bring them into Star Wars.
What I will say is that Burt Kreischer would probably look identical to any one of those Rebel pilots.
No, I'm out on that one. But it's like it's like when you bring Jim Gaffigan into these like you can't help but laugh. Like I understand they're trying to transition to movies and TV and stuff like that, but you can't help but laugh when you look at these funny guys. You know what I mean? These rubber face Jim Carrey guys. That's just how it is with
rubber
me.
faces.
Admiral Radis. How are you? Thanks for being here.
It's also Ali Wong in Birds of Prey. I was like,
that one stuck out.
Doing here?
But that's just like a one-off cameo. That's basically a cameo. So that's why I don't look at that the same way.
So to kind of get back to Rogue One a little bit here, as we're entering the third act, you know, where's everyone at mentally, emotionally on this ride of a movie that we're in? They just
brought in my favorite like one-off character in this movie, Admiral Radis, voiced by Stephen Stanton, who's the voice actor who did older Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars Rebels. This guy, like, I love this guy. He's a quick one-off, but he is decisive, and they quickly show that it's like, yeah, this is not just a blue version of Admiral Akbar. If there's one thing that these Star Wars movies have told us, it is that these Mon Calamari know how to get stuff done.
Yeah. There's something about Star Wars. We're just having this, hey guys, you gotta get your shit together, okay? The Death Star's over there, you know.
And there's something even funnier how it's a fish saying it, but that fish is like more decisive than any of these humans.
These are my favorite types of scenes, though. And if you notice that Star Wars uses these in a lot of their movies, where it's like a group decision-making, exercise around a round table or in a round room, a la Last Jedi with Laura Dern. All that. I love that visual, and I think that is a subtle way of connecting what Star Wars brings to the table.
Yeah. And it just makes the struggle, like that's one of the scenes I like in this movie. It makes the struggle against the Empire so much stronger because it's not just one unified group versus another unified group. It's the tyranny of the Empire versus a bunch of other people who don't really have an identity yet, right?
Yeah.
And it just makes the struggle just all the more hard to overcome.
In the deleted scenes, they're workshopping names for what to call themselves.
Right. I don't want. Well, I'm Red One. You can be Red One.
Yeah.
No.
They're fighting over colors like it's kindergarten.
About it, yeah.
We're gonna be the roguies.
Yeah, he stole my crayons.
I love that. We're gonna be the roadies. Yeah, that I bet that played out well in test screenings.
One thing I do have to say though, like the way these characters are being portrayed right now by the camera, like this even level that we're at with them, I kind of feel like I'm a part of this like decision, you know, like we've seen this, like you said, Joe, in many Star Wars films, but I don't think we've seen it as effective as far as getting a reaction than in Rogue One, you know?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
In my opinion.
Like, and I just love how all these guys look. They all look dirty. They all look miserable, but they just like are ready. They're just like, screw it. If we're gonna die, let's do it. Let's go down swinging and let's take a piece of the Empire with us. I love it. This is when this movie becomes Saving Private Ryan, and this is when this movie like kicks into like 11.5 gear for me.
This is kind of like what the scene in Last Jedi could have been. Not Last Jedi. Rise of Skywalker could have been.
Yeah.
And
Go to the extra goal and let's kick some ass.
Yeah. And when Poe was like, "Oh, here's everything that we didn't show you on screen that actually happened. Let me explain it," and it kind of lost all of its, intensity.
Yeah.
K2SO with another one-liner. Cassian said I had to.
This is the most effective of the companions that the Disney era has introduced, in my opinion.
I agree.
You know, I don't know why we always have to have one, but if
Yoda.
we do, take notes. You know.
Yeah.
Baby Yoda, who's literally just a prop.
Yeah, but I hate BB-8 more, but Baby Yoda is definitely competing for a top hatred in my heart.
Why do you
was that Chopper?
BB-8?
I think that was Chopper that just walked past for Rebels.
BB-8's so adorable.
Dude, I think he's useless, man.
Oh,
I mean, I just don't. That's a whole nother podcast.
He rolls around. He beeps. He's a cute.
He's got a little thumb with the little fire.
BB-8 worked as the R2-D2 replacement in Force Awakens, and then every other appearance that he had, Chris, I agree with you.
No, you know who had the worst one was Dio. The addition of Dio, I was like, well, we could have done without
Dio
that.
and Babu Frick. I kept forgetting. That was a trivia question. One of my trivia leagues.
Babu Frick does not get brought up in the same breath as Dio.
I
Babu
see.
Frick is a gift.
Yes.
He's a gift.
Yeah, he's a god in little whatever that alien's form is. But don't forget to buy the action figures.
Yeah.
So I gotta throw it to David here, man. Our new timer in this watch along. Are you feeling the intensity right now? Are you on the same emotional height as these characters? Like let us into your brain right now, dude.
I don't think so. I think after that last action scene, I kind of tuned out a bit. I mean, I'm just trying to find.
Just you
honestly,
wait.
I mean,
Just
if you
wait.
guys noticed, I was like down. I was looking at Jordan Peele possibly joining the Gargoyles live action. So I was like,
I am
Oh,
all for that.
Let's do
All
that.
for
I want that movie.
it's all speculation. I mean, like you guys said, it's all little tidbits thrown out here and there. It probably might not happen, but that would be awesome. But yeah, it's getting a little solo.
Obi-Wan shout out.
Yeah, it's getting a little solo territory to me for a little bit. I don't know.
Okay.
Well, this, I
In
mean,
what-
it's
in what
also
sense?
hard too with this being like a watch along and watching it for the first time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this would be like going to the theater and someone being on their phone or talking to you the whole time.
Yeah,
So no,
see-
it's a different experience.
I know.
So I
I'm-
completely understand.
I'm being totally disrespectful right now. I know.
For me,
I
this
go
moment
into a
right-
movie with Dom, guys. It's you
Yeah,
know,
I was about to
I'm just
say
kidding, Dom.
it's
I'm
an
just kidding.
experience
But
in
not
and of
really.
itself. Nah, like Invisible Man, but no, seriously, like that moment where Bail Organa like brings up the Jedi and he's talking about Obi-Wan and then he's like, "How much I thought?" Like that moment, I was just like, "Let's go, let's go."
Elliot, man, are you with the height of the moment right now? Where's your head at this point in the film?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, again, this being the fourth or fifth time, kind of knowing what the ending is, but I mean, this kind of still going on the journey, and again, what it gets me more excited, and especially we're getting closer to the Cassian series, is just looking at the moments and seeing the little background characters and maybe a little bit more backstory on their relationship, KTSO and Cassian, and everything that they're going to do in their show, and maybe some other appearances from other characters. So I'm just kind of looking at, what would be the through line for that show? Again, we band the brothers come together, and he says, we have assassins, we have people that have killed people and did bad things. I'm just really excited to see what that show has to offer. So at this point, what I'm looking at is just the lens of the future of these characters and what they can offer for their TV series.
Most definitely. Just so you know, guys, keep an eye out. The third act, there's a lot of Rebels pop-ups that are going to pop up. So any fans of Rebels, keep your eye out.
Right. Yeah. And I think I mentioned this previously. Like, I do think that this third act, in terms of, an action scene and the third act of how well directed it is Star Wars porn, right? Like just all the references that we see, especially seeing like, this is Gold Leader. We're starting our run for the target shaft now. And you know what I mean?
It works,
and being a Star Wars nerd myself, seeing it in the theater, like it was really, really awesome to see. But I think I'm just trying to think of analogies like that I could use for this movie. But it kind of seems like, David was talking when how we all kind of just, zoned out when there's the big emotional moment of the movie. Jyn Erso is finally back together with her father. We're talking about Marvel. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not a very, that scene, like that is the emotional center of the movie. Or at least that's what it was brought up to be. That's the first thing that we see.
I cried.
Get taken away. And then we get brought back together only for, Galen Erso to pass away or to die. It's like it should have hit us a lot harder. So it seems like we're going into this third act with not a full tank of gas. You know what I mean? And in terms of course, the action and the humor, and obviously, people watching on 4K at home, like this is why I'm thinking to myself, like, damn it, Brandon, do you need a new apartment or do you need a 4K TV? But you know what I mean? But
they get cheaper.
They get cheaper. But from an emotional standpoint, it's like, or another one that I was thinking of was kind of like a Greek statue when you're kind of like just chiseling it away. It just needs a little bit more chiseling away, just kind of to trim some stuff out of it. And I feel like it would have been a lot more cohesive, in the relationship with Cassian and Jyn, like the quote unquote romance of the movie. You know what I mean?
Now that is something that I know we'll get into in the post-show discussion, because they almost had a perfect film and then they go and do something just so not needed, for the picture perfect moment. But I mean, I gotta say though, I love this battlefield that we're about to enter. Like everything else about this movie, kind of like what I'm saying, it just feels so lived in. It feels so real. And like the way that I think, and as we're going through it, tell me if you guys feel the same way, but like never have I, like Dom said, like since Saving Private Ryan, really felt so a part of the action, like in a long time, at least, especially from like a popcorn flick like this, So I always look forward to this third scene, but I can agree, Brandon, like, yeah, it's not perfect. They could have done this movie differently, but for what it is in the Disney era, I'm happy with it. here we are, another scene where they're all sitting around deciding how to do things together.
I'm just like, there are no words. It's like you could feel the tension just slowly escalating up until that. Oh man, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to spoil it for David. But oh man,
I mean, on a side note, I forgot who mentioned it, but the look, the aesthetic of everything, how everything's usually dirty. The guys look really gritty. I love when they do that. I mean, I've seen a couple of films where these guys look clean cut and they supposedly just came out of battle, and I really, really hate when they don't follow, the realism of us. We're supposed to be there with them, right?
Yeah.
So we need to be in the trenches with them, or like get oil in their fingers, under their fingernails, get gritty. And this one looks looks pretty good. I mean, the hair's all matted, and everybody just looks really grungy, and I'm liking that about this film right now.
And you can see what's happening, unlike in Solo.
Yes.
Yes. Dirty, and like that's one thing about Star Wars, and I think that's why some people were turned off by the prequels. It's how the prequels look. Everything is so shiny, and everything is so pristine. People can argue that it was the time of the Jedi Council and the Republic and democracy. I get that. And then the original trilogy, everything's all dirty, all run down. Like if we lived in the Star Wars universe, it would stink, right? Everything is dirty.
It'd be like the 1600s again.
You see the Millennium Falcon. What a piece of junk! Like this ship is just crap, right? And this.
I think it's also that the prequels were mostly focusing on like kind of the cleaner areas of the galaxy, and we really didn't see the dirtier areas until like the other movies.
Yeah, but they definitely got the dirty on the ground aesthetic in this movie down right.
Yeah. You know what else I love?
Visuals of this.
It's a huge galaxy, and Brando Calrissian, rather. I agree with everything you just said, really. And what I also love, to add to what you said, like we have this galaxy. It's a galaxy, guys. That's huge, you know. And forever we only had the sand planet, the industrial planet, and the ice planet. But now we got like this tropical planet. Like let's open more of those doors, just to add to like what I feel this film does for like the universe as a whole. And that's why I kind of wanted to pick this one for our Star Wars celebration here, because it's just a one-off. Yet I think it does so much more than any other of these Disney films.
Yeah, it's extremely expansive, and like I said, I'm probably going to be quiet for most of this section. I'm just going to be completely enraptured by what's happening. Like this is like my favorite. I think this might be my favorite, one of my favorite third acts of like the entire last second. Like I cannot emphasize enough how much I love this last battle.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
I have a question for everybody, just kind of a round table. All right, so we've seen like, tropical beach. We've seen like redwood forest of Endor, and then you have snow, sand. You have kind of like this like Las Vegas-y style, with Canto Bight and everything like that. Where would be like the next movie, whether it be Taika Waititi or whatever it is, Mandalorian, if we could go to another type of planet or another type of environment, what would you guys like to see? Like, I think going to like an Amazon type rainforest would be kind of cool. I think that is something that we haven't really seen in like the big movies of Star Wars.
Me personally, guys, just jumping in real quick. I think if we get to, with Taika, we're definitely gonna get some cyberpunk 2077 shit.
Yeah.
We're definitely getting that Blade Runner type of vibe stuff with Taika.
Yeah.
And I think he's a perfect guy too. I totally missed chiming in when you guys were talking about Taika. I was first introduced to Taika when what was The Hunt for the Wilder People?
Yeah, Hunt for the Wilder People, which was his movie.
Yeah,
I didn't catch that one. No,
that was a great one. Watch that if you guys can. But yeah, he definitely has this style, and of course, he's the hottest director right now, so he's the biggest commodity. And that goes back to what you guys were talking about. I wish they would stick with the same directors for trilogies. Fortunately, that's not going to happen, because if we get a flop, they're going to go to the next director, next writer, whatever it is. It all comes down to money. Once again, all these, especially when you're owned by Disney, it comes down to money. So unless you're creating a trilogy that is like Terminator 2, and then Terminator 2 Part 2, and then Terminator 2 Part 2 Part 2, you're not going to get different directors. You have to just keep creating a lightning in a bottle, and usually it only strikes once, right? So I think it is cool that they're incorporating Taika in there, but it seems like they're on their last whim, and they're just hoping for Taika to kind of not revitalize the series, because this is a franchise that's booming, that's crazy big with new fans, right? They're building worlds at Disneyland with it. But I think to grasp some of those older fans, you're gonna need to go back to the drawing book and find some people that are Star Wars nerds, quote unquote, and get the input from the fans, right? Because that's the only way you're going to lock in the older fans and the newer fans.
Yeah,
That's how I
agree.
personally see it.
I you know what I want to see? I'd want to see like just like a very, just woodland area, kind of like where I'm from in New York. Like I want to see something similar to where I am, because it's a whole galaxy. I mean, I don't know how there isn't a planet with oak trees in Star Wars yet at this point. And
Endor, though?
nah, but those are science fiction trees. They're huge, they're giant, they're the
Those
big
are like the
redwood
redwoods in
forest,
California, much more
I just want something normal. I want to see this fantasy in this normal element. Luck Reviews, who's been with us the whole watch along so far, I hope you're having a good time, man. I know we are. He's saying a very mountain oriented planet could be cool too. And like, yeah, these are two simple things that both of us just threw out there. And like, why haven't we seen that? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, gotcha.
Go.
not that
Here comes
difficult,
the
I don't think.
boom.
I want to see more ocean. And like more water work. I know we got a little of it back with Jar Jar Binks and such. But I would like to see it better executed, a la like what Avatar 2 is going to be doing with Pandora and all that. I think we've done a lot of. That's a great shot. We've done a lot of the galaxy, the flying, and all that stuff, which obviously you're going to get in a movie like Star Wars. But I think we can really focus in more on a planet like what we're seeing right now, or think about what we saw in The Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker with the battle on the remains of the Death Star. Like that water just gives you such a neat optical platform to play with, and I would like to see more of that.
I think it could work. We're getting Ethan saying a Yellowstone-esque environment on a mountain planet. That could be cool. Like geysers and stuff. That could be really cool.
Yeah.
And it's like we're coming up with this right now. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's what I thought.
The same worlds.
Like we can just bring it anywhere. Star Wars is so expansive in terms of its environments.
Exactly, man.
Boy, Tarkin getting the news.
Yeah.
Rebels on Scarif.
Yeah, it's certainly hard to speak at this point in the film.
Yeah, it really is. Like this is just the part where we're just completely enraptured.
Hey guys, I forgot to ask you. So, is this guy have mocap on his face, like the de-aging
Yeah,
thing?
it's motion capture.
Or the actor,
Okay.
at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
Recreate.
I started to notice it a little bit, but I didn't know if it was because I was watching on Disney Plus or whatever.
Yeah.
What up, Mike? Thanks for coming back, man. First time commenting this watch along. Yeah, I think a planet with more than one ecosystem would be cool too. Because hey, look at Earth. Just look at Earth.
Yep.
And thanks for being here, dude.
All right. Rebels get the call. They're taking off. There was Chopper. Yep. I don't know if you guys saw in the corner. That was Chopper from Rebels.
Get to the chopper.
Good.
What episode of Community was he in, Dom?
You're funny. You're funny. Wow. I try to make one non-community reference, and this is what I get.
Yeah. So yeah, for just looking it up, Peter Cushing passed away in 1994, and then 22 years later they bring him back.
Yep.
Pretty incredible.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I just always think back to the interview he had where they're asking him about his character, and he's like, the only thing that I remember is his name was Muff, and I was so confused about it. I was like, what is a muff? I thought it was sort of like a butterfly thing, and he's just doing that like the whole interview. It's hysterical.
I think they, I think they did a nice job bringing him back. Even if there is like an ethical concern there, like Brando said early on, I do think it. I think it showed him in a good light.
Pointless cameo with 3PO and R2 is like fulfilling contractual obligatory need. They have to have those two in every movie. I'm like, yeah, you didn't need them here.
Yeah, I'd love to see the fine print on that. But 94, wow, I didn't realize he passed away that long ago. 22 years, that's crazy.
You were born. How crazy is that?
That is crazy.
I wasn't even born yet.
Yeah, me neither.
Dom, how old are you?
I'm 22. I'm going to be 23 in August.
Gotcha. Right.
Jesus Lord.
He's still counting when he's going to be the next age, David.
All right, go around. How old is everyone?
95. So I'm turning 25 in a couple months.
Oh, nice, man.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Your back's
I'm
gonna
like
start hurting out of nowhere.
I'm like a lady. I never reveal that age. So.
We don't have to do that if you guys don't want to.
No, it's fine. I just turned 30 in February. So
nice.
Oh, cool.
Ooh, happy dirty 30, man.
Yep.
Oh wow.
33.
Elliot, dude, you've been
Nice.
quiet for a little bit, man. Where's your head at this point in the film? Dude, you know I love asking you that, but you always got something good to say when I do. So
Yeah, no. This is this again. I'm just thinking in my head with the and again, I don't want to spoil anything for David, but I would just wonder the alternative ending, what that would have led to for future characters and things of that nature, without giving too much away. But no, I just love this battle scene because again, I think it was either Dom or Brando brought it up. This was the war. You know, this is the war in Star Wars in regards to just seeing them on the ground level. You know, Dom mentioned Saving Private Ryan, definitely get those vibes, and just kind of the band of brothers, seeing the character development somewhat over the length of the film and seeing these characters now at the pivotal moments. So it's just, again, I love this aspect of Star Wars. I love my space battles for sure, but I love seeing, these people on the ground level as well. I always love that aspect.
Okay. Okay, the Ghost is in here somewhere. I couldn't see it because it's a lot of ships to keep track of. The Ghost is in there somewhere. That's Rebels. Oh, sorry, that's Community Rebels reference number 2.
I think we're gonna have to have
that's going to be a drinking game, Brando. Good call on that one, man.
Yeah. We're gonna have a podcast where we do a Community versus The Office, because I will love to be part of that panel.
Oh,
if
you
would
guys
love to have me.
I'm in.
Yes.
I might get violent.
3 on 3. It has to be an even 3 on 3 though. That's the thing. It has to be 3 for Community, 3 for The Office. I already know Chris and I are going to be at opposite sides of that because I'm Community all day. I'm Community all day. Chris, I don't think you understand. Community. Put it this way: the way Community is literally my loss. I will fight to the death on that show.
Guys, look, it's us, all the rebel pilots.
Yep.
So someone said earlier, I think it was either Ethan or Luck, and they were saying like the usage of the original footage that was never used in the original trilogy for some of these pilots. I remember hearing about that when it first came out.
Right, just the scream,
Oh yeah, great moment, man.
Yeah, I love when people like war cry in movies. It can be really, really
corny.
It could be really corny if done by like a student film. You know what I mean?
What about
Savage?
What about Randy? What about Randy Quaid in Independence Day when he's
that's one of the best. That's one of the best
movie.
That's one of the best.
Oh, boys.
Yeah, and also I'm doing real quick to bounce back to like my impression. If you guys think that accent was good, you guys should hear my John Oliver. Again, bringing it back to Community. You're welcome.
Oh man.
Yep. Jesus.
Yeah, when people war cry, it can be either really corny or it can be like really just like liberating. There's one line in here I pointed out when it goes for Jeddah. It's like, oh god.
I love that. I thought that was cool.
Oh god. Sorry, David. Go on.
No, I was just gonna say, what about Leroy Jenkins, the ultimate war cry?
Oh yeah.
We
sometimes when I play Warzone with my buddies and we know we're doing a dumb.
That was like one of the early memes right there.
Yeah, old school.
That's like the early days of YouTube right there, man.
Yeah.
Man,
this is a good moment coming up.
No words. Like I said, I don't want to spoil it for David, but that's like, oh man, one of the most heartbreaking moments of this movie coming up right here.
No, this third act really stepped it up.
Yeah,
it's
nuts.
Whoever said it. Yeah, whoever said the war in Star Wars, this is definitely war.
Yeah,
this is awesome.
Yeah. I just love this aesthetic right now. You know,
so good. Mm-hmm. It takes everything that worked about the third act of Return of the Jedi and ups it to like, I don't even know what. I'm sick of doing the turning it up to 11 reference. That reference has been done to death at this point.
Up to 11, you know. But yeah,
speaker. But this one goes up to 11.
That's a great movie too.
Rob Reiner, underrated director. Just get Rob Reiner to direct a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, is he still alive?
Yes, he is. He was just in. Elliot knows he was just in Hollywood.
Yeah, he was, and no thoughts on that show, but yeah.
That's it all.
Uh-oh.
Oh my god, go check out the Movie Files review of Hollywood, guys.
Yeah,
for a more in-depth analysis.
Are you telling me Elliot does not like a movie or
Elliot? I just wanted to point out that I have not watched Hollywood since you told me that episode that I left off on, based purely on like how you said the show does such a 180 on that.
Yeah. My grandma keeps talking to me. She's like, "Granny, you gotta watch this new show called Hollywood. It's grand. It's completely grand. You gotta check it out."
She uses those words exactly.
Yeah, I was trying to do her accent from County Cork around the corner. Yeah. Anyways, but, yeah, I try.
Is it worse than John Henry though?
Oh, that movie! I was about to say, David, I saw you reviewed that movie. Did you watch the Double Toasted review of that movie?
I watch the what?
The Double Toasted review. Double Toasted's a YouTube channel that Chris and I absolutely love. They're comedians, comedian YouTubers that are based out of Austin, Texas.
Actually, Q and I were just talking about Elliot's review. We're like, Elliot is too damn nice when it comes to these reviews, man. You're like so PG with it, bro. You need to roast these films like how they should be roasted.
They need to know what
I come at it a little bit differently. Just
unless you really liked it.
No, I just come at film, reviews a little bit differently in regards to just always trying to find something positive to say about it. Because again, I know the aspects of filmmaking, and sometimes it's a passion project and meaningful to some people. So I always just try to find something good about it. And the negatives, I don't really harp on it that much. But that's just my.
Elliot, I can definitely get behind that, especially because it's like 99.9% of YouTubers just exist to roast something and nitpick everything to death. So just trying to find something good.
Thanks for that.
About certain things.
Yeah, no.
Hey, that wasn't directed at you.
99.9.
That wasn't directed at you. That was just directed at like most other YouTubers, like CinemaSins. CinemaSins to me represents everything that's wrong with YouTube critiquing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, they're not going to support us now.
Oh no!
You can't win them all. But
it's the end of the world. I lost CinemaSins. It's a faithful viewer.
Yeah, but I think it just comes down to the viewer too, where it's just like as soon as one person that they watch didn't like a film that they liked, I think it's up to them. It's their responsibility to go, okay, well, the way that they described it, even though it didn't work for them, generally speaking, when those elements come into a movie, I like it, right? And so I think it's the viewer's responsibility also to not just get all uppity and just be about it too, because there's some of my favorite channels that don't like movies that I love. It's like the movie doesn't change,
Yeah, I agree, man. And just to catch Mike up to speed here, he wants to jump in on the watch along. If anyone's out there and wondering where we are in this film right now, we're an hour and 45 minutes in just about, and we are just getting into the battle scene. So, Mike, now would be a great time to sort of jump in here. We got the Mon Calamari's in the command pit, and they're just doing what they do in every movie, giving those good commands. So it's a good spot to jump in, my friend.
It's Mon Calamari's. They know how to give commands.
Yeah, I feel like that's their only role. But hey,
they're so good at it. Boy, the plan within the plan. They're like, well, shit, we can't get the plans off planet now, so now we have to beam them.
This does feel very World War II-esque in the way the characters interact in this battle sequence,
Yeah, I think it's right here. For Jeddah. Yeah, right there. Yeah. For Jeddah. Yeah.
These dogfights, the way they're choreographed are amazing. This is some of the best Star Wars space action ever made.
Yeah, I would have to say since the beginning of Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
Or sorry,
Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
It takes everything that worked about that opening sequence of Revenge of the Sith, and I'm not going to say it. You guys know what I was going to say.
What about Community?
What? Yeah,
I hate you. We're going to one more time, I swear.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I got another reference coming, but it's not from Community.
I'm excited for it, man.
This director has a lot of good movies under his belt too.
Who, Gareth Edwards?
Didn't even realize.
Yeah.
Didn't even realize Monsters was awesome. I don't know if you guys saw that one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, no, and when Riz Ahmed, is that his name?
Yep.
Yeah. When they announced him, I think I saw Nightcrawler the opening night, and then they announced that he was going to be in that movie, and I'm like, that's a great choice.
Yeah, and then he also same year he won his Emmy for The Night Of on HBO.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say it. No, I was going to say if you were going to say he won his Emmy for Community.
Nope, he was not in Community. Community only got nominated for one Emmy for writing for Remedial Chaos Theory. It's the only Emmy it got nominated for. I just want to let you know you opened that can of worms right there.
It didn't win though, right?
No, it did not. I don't remember what it lost to. It was probably something generic like Modern Family or Veep.
I like to believe Joe knew the answer to that before he asked it. He just wanted to hear you say it.
Oh,
100%.
yeah.
100%. But also,
I get it.
You're going to say that Veep is generic, and that's a whole nother podcast as well.
Yeah.
Because
generic is the wrong word choice.
Yeah, it is.
I've heard Veep is good.
Veep's incredible.
Yeah. This next sequence coming up, I think the cinematography of it is just is wonderful.
It's great.
when they're starting to mini spoiler for the climate.
Hey guys, do you mind if I ask a noob question? Star Wars noob
for it,
question?
man.
Go ahead.
Yeah, without referencing a community or something. But
God.
why is there white droids? Well, I mean, I'm sorry. Why is there white stormtroopers, black stormtroopers, tan stormtroopers? I just saw. Is there a
Just,
reason
like,
why they just
different,
different
like,
planets
class
have their
level.
own subsections? Or
Different like class levels of stormtroopers. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I always thought it was they
So it's
had
not
like your
okay.
navy, your your
Yeah.
army, your I think it was like that kind of thing, but they never really answer that. It's not a bad question, to be honest with you.
Well, I think what the main issue is that they want to sell more action figures, so they got to have
Yeah.
things. But
Right.
you know, like in the original trilogy, you had your stormtroopers, then you have your snow troopers, and then you have your like scout troopers in the woods. But I think every single new Star Wars movie, they got to have a new faction of stormtrooper. They got to have a new class, new ranking system, and you know, I think it's just a way to keep the movies fresh.
Whether or not
Mike,
they explain them at all.
Venom was indeed Riz Ahmed's best performance.
Mike dropping knowledge in the chat.
Yeah,
Haven't seen Venom yet.
as Riot. I still think Andy
Oh,
Serkis's
you gotta
movie,
watch
if he
that.
actually gets like full creative freedom on that, is going to be insane.
Oh, did someone say I should watch that?
yeah, you
What?
should watch that. I'm
Okay.
probably the only one that likes Venom, but whatever.
I like Venom.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Venom could have been cool, but Ruben Fleischer did not get to make the movie that he wanted to.
I thought it was cool.
So the black troopers are apparently called death troopers.
Yeah.
More of an elite class. So I guess it's like like we were saying, like a class differentiation.
I was about to
Maybe
say,
they
not that it
killed
really-
more civilians, so they get promoted or something.
Well, it really doesn't make that much of a difference because they still can't hit anything. So,
Yeah, that's true.
Can't speak either.
nope.
Like
That
there's
also makes
that
them more
weird,
efficient.
that weird effect on their voice.
I do love how they stayed true to the cockpit shots,
Yeah.
of the original trilogy, because there was always such a charm in like the level they could take the filmmaking back then, but then to apply it in this spectacle, we're talking about scale, we're talking about visual effects, setting, how it's all just so modern, but then they have like that old feel. I think there's just layers to this battle scene, man. You know
Yeah,
what
and
I'm
the
saying?
tide turns right here. Like you could just feel like the score picks up just that overwhelming sense of dread as the rebels realize, oh, we're screwed.
The trailer shot of them running through the water is such
Yep.
a beautiful shot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just everything here works. It's like just that foreboding sense of doom.
That's why I'm with you, Elliot, on like, even when something has a negative, you can't bash it too hard, because I don't know if I'm ever capable of making something like this or even being on a team that
Yeah.
can do something this beautiful, like this amazing.
Right. I want to get I might as well ask it now, but I want to hear the thoughts afterwards of Elliot's. Like, have you ever saw like a movie and you just wanted to leave halfway through or just absolutely hated it?
Yeah, Fantasy Island.
Gotcha.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Just so you know,
I want
Just so
to
you
know
know.
Elliot's thoughts just because I
that
know
movie
he's
sucked.
I watched Fantasy Island this morning, and I am currently posting the review for it as we're talking.
Oh,
man.
cool.
And I never give a movie
Nice.
0 out of 5, and I'm trying my hardest not to break that rule. But oh my God, sorry,
Yeah, that's a
Elliot.
whole other podcast, but I can see your struggle there, man, and I feel for you. That was a tough episode for me and Dom to get through, to say the
Yeah.
least.
Joe, did you watch Capone?
Not yet. That's my
Oh
next.
my God. Yeah, I was about to say, come
self-inflicted
back to me
wound.
and tell me then that you can't give
I did.
Fantasy Island anything out of 5.
What
And
was
that's
the question
why-
again, Brandon? What did you say? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, what was like a movie that you absolutely hated? But before I say that, like, that's why when I do my ratings, whenever I give like a movie a 1 out of 5, I don't go like just it's a terrible movie. I just say it's not for me. You know?
Yeah,
And
I
I will,
respect
whenever I go, it sucks. It's more just for the YouTube algorithm. I'll admit it. It's a clickbait title, but still, you got to do what you got to
Man,
do.
there's nothing to be. We're passionate about what we do, and I'm sure we'd all want to see like
Yeah.
success off it. So I
Oh.
totally get that, man.
But I'll shut up right here. I love this one little shot.
It's a good shot, but I will say that the fake out here is a little bit. I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah, the fake out part was
That
it's
was
common.
not. Yeah.
But yeah, Elliot, I was just wondering if there was a film that you just can't ever, you just hate from beginning to end. Be honest.
I mean, just most recent, like again, going back to John Henry, or even the other film that I saw, the what is it called, the Wrong Missy, with David Spade, his new comedy with Happy Madison Productions. Again, always kind of finding a challenge. Whereas if a film, like you said, Brandon, I always use it wasn't for me, but I know because I read all my comments and reply to them. People find funny things out of things, or horror, or whatever the case may be. So I always use that as a reference in regards to that. But I always find it a challenge where if a film doesn't work for me, I try to find. Again, we're all human, but I try to go and switch my perspective. Okay, like I'm not liking this movie, but let me just kind of see maybe what someone might like it to. Because I didn't like Fantasy. I saw that movie like 2 weeks in advance when I saw it, and I had to put my review up, and it was one of my lowest rated films. It was like a 1 or a 1.5. But always try to switch it up in regards to just perspective wise, in regards to what someone might like in the film, and kind of maybe highlighting some things that might be ignored. So, but no, I never walked out of a film, never cut off a film halfway through. I'm one of those people where if I watch something for X, Y, to Z, I'm going to finish it out. Same with TV. Even if I don't like a TV show, if I'm 3 episodes in, I'm going to ride it all the way through. So never walked out of film, never cut one off. I just always, I'm going to stick it through and through.
No,
I've walked out of one film. Walked out of one. Wish I would have walked out of another.
What movie?
The first was when I was in high school. Willard, the remake of Willard with the rats and everything.
Okay, I think I know which one you're talking about.
Absolutely hated that. The other
Crispin Glover.
That's exactly right. The other one was last year, I think it was Tolkien with Nicholas Hoult.
Oh yeah, that movie just looked boring.
It was. I love movies like that, or what it could have been, but it was so bad.
Yeah, I hear you. This moment, man, I remember being there in theaters and being like, "Wow, they achieved more than like
there was the
prequels did in that moment." Like that was a powerful moment right there.
There was my reference. There was the ghost. I don't know if you guys saw Flying in the Corner, but yeah, like, and if anything, it kind of, again, like going back to it, but like it makes it even sadder if he's an actual Jedi, because like, wow, like a Jedi putting aside like their kind of self-preservation to like help this cause, just makes it that much sadder.
Yeah, but I think the story wise, or the story decision from that was like the Last Jedi's around in terms of live action movies was going to be like Darth Vader and Luke, and there's still Ahsoka and there's still like Rebels and things like that, but like in like the first movie, you saw all that's left of their religion. When Tarkin's talking to Darth Vader. Yeah. But then again, I haven't seen Rebels at all, and I've only seen a couple of episodes of Clone Wars. So again, that's just my feature film knowledge, my blinders talking.
Call him the Hammerhead.
Yeah,
that's the last Rebels reference, because Hammerhead ships were introduced in Rebels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll save the question till afterwards because shit's hitting the fan here.
Yeah. This is when characters start dropping like flies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that too, it's like all this stuff is so well executed, but I think, if like my analogy of, trimming the fat of this movie, like if we had like fewer characters that we cared about more and killed them off, I feel like that emotional impact would hit even harder.
Yeah.
But that's just for me, of course.
Yeah. And like, it would have been better if like, each one of these deaths was kind of satisfying to the arcs.
No, really? Oh my god. Yeah. But I know people who still felt like that for this, and that's totally cool.
Yeah.
I for sure did. I mean, we've seen this moment many times in many films, to take as many out with you. I remember Black Hawk Down comes to mind, if I can get my words out. But I mean,
that's a great film.
For the first time since that film, like I felt it here, and this is, again, is in a popcorn flick, which I didn't expect going into this one. Being a diehard Star Wars guy too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think it does too. Like this film does its homework, like it hits those Black Hawk Down beats that I think really made that movie one of my all-time favorites,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good comparison.
And a lot of my friends are like big Call of Duty players, and I'm just like, and they go, let's make a Call of Duty movie. And I said, they already made it. It's called Black Hawk Down.
That's so true, man.
Yeah,
I play Call of Duty a couple times a week, and I can definitely agree with that.
This scene was awesome.
Yeah, this is where it's like, oh, 4K, Brandon, 4K, 4K.
Yeah.
But you know what, though? Like, I told David this when we were just chatting a couple of days ago. But, you know, when I was in film school, like in our camera department, they were testing out cameras for, I think they went up to like 16K.
Whoa.
Right? So, like, the technology, and that was back in 2013, right? So the technology already exists for, like, all this, like, really high-tech cameras and all these things. But, you know, just the way that the world works, it's like, okay, we gotta get everyone into 4K. Then once, you know, the general population, most people have 4K TVs, 4K Blu-ray players, yada yada yada. Then we'll bring out 8K, and then get everyone on top of that, and then bring out 16K. But like the technology already exists so much further down the line. And I've been told that, you know, 4K, you can really only tell the difference when you have like a 75-inch TV or bigger. But then again, I'm not an expert on that. But that's why I thought, you know, I could just wait. I don't know if you guys like are big 4K.
Well,
Yeah, to me, as long as the picture looks good and I
Oh.
can see it,
Yeah.
I'm not like the biggest stickler for it.
And also, like, I'd rather watch my favorite movie of all time on VHS, and I've quoted this before. I'd rather watch my favorite movie of all time on VHS than the worst movie I've ever seen in the highest definition possible.
Yeah.
You know,
That's so cool.
I do like what they're doing
this
with
is awesome.
remastering older movies into 4K though. I love that.
yeah, when they're shot on
No,
film
I'm
back in the
fan of
day. Yeah,
Yeah, and the transfer
I don't know.
to 4K is just flawless. It's amazing. I love that. I mean, I know a lot of people love the gray nostalgia, and I can appreciate that. Like, trust me. I mean, but I don't know. There's just something about bringing those old classics to a modern day age, and that's for a whole nother podcast. I could definitely talk about that. But I was someone that was against 4K for such a long time because I would see, you know, Blu-ray and 4K, and I didn't really notice a difference until I actually started, you know, getting larger TVs, and that's when you kind of see it. And I was actually reading an article years ago when 4K started coming out, and they were like, the whole thing with 8K is that your eye cannot distinguish from 4 to 8, the average human eye. I mean, I'm sure there's people that can, but it's not going to be a game changer. That's all I got to say. It's not going to be it's not going to get you running out to the stores to buy an 8K. And the thing with the 8Ks that I've been seeing is that I don't know if something crazy is going to happen right here, but I don't want to talk too long. But they're starting at like 80 inch and up. Like it's like large displays on, you know, they're showcasing the Samsung ones. So who the hell's going to afford those? Like $8,000 TVs? You know? Yeah, it's crazy.
And like this is the thing too. This is where I think like the script this is where it kills me. Where it's like this is their first scene on screen together, Jyn Erso and Orson Krennic, right?
Yeah.
It is like, and it's the final confrontation.
I think that makes it all the more important. Like that's how I take it.
For me, this scene worked. I got completely why. Because his feud was never directly with her, so like it kind of makes sense why they never directly conflicted until that point. I just think like my biggest problem with that is like the cheap shot with like the fake out with Cassian. It's like Cassian clearly died there. It's probably just like, okay, that death like falling down like an elevator shaft was probably too lame for a Star Wars death. You know? So, like, he had to go out.
Yeah.
I just can't get over how the music's just like commanding like the perfect emotional response right now.
This is definitely the best track. I think it's called "Your Father Will Be Proud," and remembering the soundtrack.
Yeah, it's really kind of fulfilling everything I would want out of this moment. Like just going back to my first time watching it, you know.
Yeah. She's like, oh come on, we're dead anyway. Just let me kick the corpse just a little bit. Just for a little bit of extra satisfaction.
Yeah, but I think when she's like, you know who I am. I'm Galen Erso's daughter, and he's like, oh, what? Why do I care? Oh, I'm dead. That's how I took it.
I just wanted him to be like, who? And then just be like, oh yeah, that guy who I just killed on Edu, my friend and partner.
Mm-hmm.
No, I see what you mean there, Brando. I think I just get. I have a little bit of blinders to this film. I'm not afraid to say it, but I don't know. The bad is far outweighed by the good in this one to me. But I do understand how people could be wanting more from that moment for sure.
Yeah, because it has all the, all the fun stuff, all the action and like just the visuals, and I mean I can't stress that enough. Just like the paint and the wrapping paper of this movie is just wonderful. But the romance, what romance?
Would you even call this romance?
In my opinion,
I wouldn't call it romance. They don't kiss. They don't kiss.
Why do you need that shot of them looking at each other like, oh damn?
It's just kind of like, oh thank God, we're done.
Well, they just dealt a major blow to and they know they're about to blow up.
I don't think it was
So
romance. It was kind of like the ending of a Pacific Rim thing, whereas Pacific Rim was like deliberately playing around with the idea of like, oh, you thought these two were gonna kiss? Nope. And so I just thought like this movie, like, I don't know, like there were definitely a few moments where I was like, did you really need that? But
it's so cool looking.
Guys, I gotta say, I love this comment.
Yeah, I was laughing.
yeah, nobody who
Nobody
falls
who
out of
falls-
shaft in Star Wars dies.
We don't know who you are, but we love that comment.
That was funny.
That's true.
It's like,
Wow, guys.
he just knows. Rogue
I mean,
One.
we knew this moment was coming, but why does it just like get me? You know?
It's the power of Star Wars, dude, and the power of
The CGI on him looks incredible, by the way.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's not
Oh.
CG. That's
This is a great-
puppetry.
This is a
Is that
great
actual
shot.
puppetry?
That's puppetry.
Great shot.
100%.
Boom.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, this was awesome.
Looks like CG.
This was awesome.
Yeah, man, this film is special.
Yeah,
I'm
this
just gonna
film.
say it.
This film is awesome. It's still my favorite of the new batch. It's problematic. It's flawed. I don't think it's a perfect movie, but this movie's great. And we haven't even gotten to the cherry on top of this already delicious sundae of a movie. Yeah, this is the deep impact moment.
Great
Yeah,
shot,
right.
even though
Yeah.
the moment's a bit forced.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's the thing.
Yeah, like you don't need him to say that line. She gets it.
She's like, I know.
Honestly, I don't think you need any words here. I don't think you need any words here. They both just their look says it all.
Yeah,
They
your
did it,
father
they're
would be
exhausted.
proud. You got everyone killed.
Yeah.
Oh, my favorite Star Wars score of all time, just cascading into this sunset. Like, I don't know, man. They're kind of selling me on it, even though I know it's flawed.
No,
Yeah, my
hey, but you know what? That's the beauty of movies. It's all art, and it's all it. People get emotionally hit by different moments.
Yeah.
You know, in Endgame, the one scene that gets me bawling is when Ant-Man is reunited with his daughter. Like that's
For
the scene-
me, for me, that moment is Tony's conversation with his dad when they go back to the 70s. That hit me like a ton of. Okay, David. So
There it is.
just pay attention. Like this is like you're about to witness like one of the greatest Star Wars moments ever.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that blast that just happened. That got spoiled to me like years ago.
Well, hopefully,
Oh,
this
I mean,
next
it was
scene
Bummer.
like
better not.
I
have-
got shown that ending. Yeah.
This scene better not have been spoiled for you.
No. I had no.
This is
There
wonderful.
they are, the plans.
Oh, I forgot about. Oh my god.
You stop. You did not forget about this scene. There's
I've
no
just
way.
been too busy, hosting this thing. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, the door jamming, a little bit convenient, but oh man, it's beautiful poetry right
And
here.
this is a particular genre I would love to see Star
Yeah.
Wars maybe take one day as like a little bit of the horror hinge.
Yeah,
Oh, I love
darkness,
that.
the deep breathing. Oh, ooh, chills.
It's so cool.
Got your
Vader
towels ready, folks?
going ham. It's our Force Unleashed on the big screen moment.
Oh, dude, this is
Dude.
just.
I think
Holds
I
that guy in
remember-
the ceiling and goes through it like it's nothing.
I think I remember everyone like screaming when that happened.
Yeah,
Like,
I was
"Ah!"
just being like, oh my god, because the whole thing is I heard rumors that we were going to get a scene like this, but I didn't actually think it was going to happen. And then I saw this, I'm like, oh shit, this is happening. We're going to get this.
And this is the Vader I want more of.
Yeah.
This era of his life.
Just this
Yeah.
unstoppable
Violent,
killing
angry.
machine.
Didn't go the way he thought it would, and he's just living in the
Yeah.
immediate aftermath. Brilliant.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Awesome.
like Luck is saying right now, easily a GOAT Star Wars
Yep.
scene.
Cherry on top of
Yep,
an
that
already
was cool
delicious
as hell.
sundae, but oh my god. That's like one of the top 10 greatest Star Wars movies ever put to screen. And then it kind of gets ruined by this next bit, but that's
Yeah.
I don't know.
We didn't need to see her
Yeah,
face.
Captain Antilles, yeah, you could have
Should have been a cool cut to black there, right?
Yeah, I could have just kept it right there. We know who that is. Like this is the one. As good as it is with Tarkin, I am not a fan of what they do with this.
Because look at her mouth.
Yeah, look at her eyes. Look, it's all in the
Fine.
eyes.
It's
all in
fine.
the eyes.
Come on.
Oh, that looks pretty.
Space.
That's pretty good.
You're right. It could have been
Yep.
worse.
And that was Rogue One,
But,
a Star Wars story.
but I know what you mean though. The eyes. I mean, they couldn't get the Paul Walker eyes. They can,
Yeah. Oh, and the other thing too, I forgot is Chris Weitz of About a Boy and Ants fame wrote the script for this movie, and American Pie fame wrote the script for this movie.
It's such a diverse resume.
Very, very diverse resume. Not
Yeah, I respect
completely.
that. I respect that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Luck is saying right now, his heart straight stopped. I hope you're doing okay, man. I'm right there with you. Dude, like that was just, man, the guy pulls the lever to the ship is played by, oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so that
No.
was
Mike, man,
Rogue
we're
One,
not
guys.
asking any questions about that, bro. You do whatever you got to
Yeah,
do to
I was
express
about,
how you
I was
like
about
this
to
film,
say, I'm
man.
like, I'm not touching that
We
with a
don't-
10-foot-long pole.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, man, however you
think
enjoy your
Goop's
Star
much
Wars,
better.
you enjoy your Star
Yeah,
Wars,
man.
man.
I
That's
mean,
all.
hey, I was about. Okay, yeah, I'm not gonna touch
So,
that
guys, like, where are we all at right now?
one.
Whoever wants to just jump in first, you know?
Well, I think basically, you know, I've said it before. You know, I think just in terms of the characters and the emotion, I feel like if that was just, you know, just get some sandpaper and just kind of smooth it out a little bit, and then just take that along for the ride. I think you've got a great movie. But as for what I've got, like, I don't hate it. It's just okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
First two acts definitely needed a rewrite. I will say that. Again, I don't have the rose-tinted glasses on with this movie. I don't love it. I still very, very much enjoy it, and I still think it is the riskiest thing that this era of Star Wars tried to do. But I definitely think, again, needed like one more touch-up on the script. Like, they brought on Tony Gilroy to basically reshoot the entire third act. Like, have him do like some touch-ups on the script. I kind of wish they figured that out before they started production versus like midway through production. But other than that, like, this is still a great movie. I still really, really enjoy it.
Yeah, for me, my fandom comes with this is just the idea, the premise of a Star Wars story in regards to the initial pitch of, you know, we're going to bring you some new stories with some familiar beats, with some familiar characters. The idea of the, you know, the plans being, you know, just creating a film about that premise is what I was hoping to see with these spin-off films. And, you know, obviously Solo was a little bit of a different story, and who knows if we'll get continuations of a Star Wars story, or, you know, I guess this would be a topic for next week's conversation in regards to the future of Star Wars. But I just love the idea where they were coming from. I just remember everything leading up to the film, and it still holds up for me personally. As Dom has said many times, one of my favorites in this new kind of iteration of Star Wars films.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's the thing. Like, oh no, Joe, please go ahead, man.
I got to say, when I first saw this in the theaters, I was not the biggest fan of it. I don't know why it just didn't hit well for me when I first saw it. It may have been that I was like out having drinks until 2 a.m. the night before, and I saw it at like 11 a.m., but I don't know. I think that it is honestly one of, Brandon's not going to agree with me on this, but I think it's one of the best ones to come out of this most recent, you know, group of Star Wars films from Disney. I really like what they did there, and I don't think that it needed, you know, I heard we needed to rewrite the first two acts or the changes that we've all talked about. I don't think it really needed any of that. I think it worked very well for what it is. The callbacks and all of that were, I think, in good taste. And I don't know, some of that action is, I think, some of the best of the entire series.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, Flix, man, what was your you know, initial reaction your first time watching this film? How you feeling, dude?
Yeah, I thought the movie was good. I obviously I can't speak on the lore of or like, you know, the ones that came after it. You know, I don't even know the names. I don't want to sound like such an idiot, but you know, I don't know the newer ones that came out after this. But as far as like a solo project, you know, no pun intended, this one was awesome. I mean, compared to the last one, you know, I really enjoyed this one. I thought the characters were a lot more solid, and I don't even know who that main girl is.
It's Felicity Jones from The Theory of Everything.
Okay, I haven't even seen Theory of Everything, so she's new to me. You know, so it's always good seeing a fresh face. Saw a couple of people that I recognized before, but as a whole movie, coming in, not a Star Wars fan, this got me intrigued to kind of check out the other ones. So, you know, I mean, that's not saying much because, you know, you guys are saying that this is one of the better ones. So there's only one way to go, but down, right?
Yeah, it's not exactly a high bar to come over.
Now, as kind of like the new guy in the group, like compared to Solo, what do you think hooked you more? And between both of those films, are you like chomping at the bit to go watch another Star Wars film now, or did they just not have an impact on you at all? Like, let's dive into that. I'm curious, man.
Yeah, I think my love for it isn't as strong as many people, I'll be honest. I mean, you obviously know me. I mean, my realm is more in like the Marvel realm or just, you know, other films, different genres of film, I guess. But I mean, I can understand the love for this. I just don't feel 100% invested with these characters. But as far as this movie goes, I felt invested with some of our main characters. I don't want to butcher the names or try to pretend like I remembered who they were. But the last couple of actors on screen at the end there, I felt for them a little more. They felt a little more realistic. And then once again, going back to that whole grunginess, Saving Private Ryan, you get these war movies. It felt like you were in the trenches. I love the whole aesthetic of everything, like Brandon said earlier. And that's what sucks me in a movie, whether I'm a fan of the lore or not. Like, this movie was cool. It was a little better. It was, well, I'll say a lot better than the Solo film. But I enjoyed it. I mean, I overall enjoyed it. But is it going to make me a Star Wars fan to go sit back and watch many, many, many movies before it? Probably not, if I'm being honest.
No, I feel that, Brando, dude. So, where's your head at? Just finishing this movie again for, I don't know how many times you've seen it, but I'd assume a few times at least.
Yeah, I've seen this movie quite a few times, and yeah, like I just said it right after the movie. I think I just wanted a bit more character, emotional heart, and I don't mind the fact that they killed off all of our characters, but I feel like it would have been much more of emotional impact if we really cared about these characters more. Like we have Saw Gerrera in there, and he just serves a plot purpose. Right. Most of Jin's character development happens off screen. I've used the analogy before of just like thinking of like a Greek statue that isn't quite completed yet. There still needs to be some things to get chiseled off. There's a really good movie in here, and you've seen it in the third act with how well it's executed. It is. It's a visually stunning movie. The score, and obviously you have Darth Vader, so all the Star Wars elements are there. And again, I think it is very, very reliant on the next film, right? Where the first standalone movie really doesn't stand alone. Like, I know a lot of people went into this movie who had never seen Star Wars before, and they had no idea what the hell was going on, right? And a funny thing that my sister said was like, why can't Star Wars get away from just a white brunette British lady? And
Wow.
With Rogue One, Force Awakens, obviously with Rey, and then you have Emilia Clarke and Solo, and it's like I never even made that connection, even though it's right in front of my face. But it's an okay movie for me. And of course, I bought the Blu-ray day one. I'm a Star Wars nerd, and I still haven't thrown away this shirt, right? So I don't hate the movie. Like, there's some great parts in it, but I think this is an okay movie that, with some tweaks, could have been an amazing movie in my eyes.
Yeah, watching this with you guys, going into it, I'll admit, like, this was because I have been so let down by this Disney era. This was like my beacon of hope. And, I actually really enjoyed my theater going experience, and I've seen it about 5 times since. This is, I think, my 5th watch of the film since. And I still just remember so vividly, what I was feeling in the theaters, what I was feeling in the moment. So this panel that we just did, this watch along, I was kind of able to separate it because I think Brando especially was bringing up some good points as to the things that I was just so hurt by Disney that this was the one good thing they gave me that I had to latch onto it. So I was kind of excusing some of the, the poorer qualities of the film, like that moment at the end. I mean, for me, it did work, but I can see how people would say them just meeting there in that final apex, that final point of the film. I mean, I can see how that's not necessarily a moment that pays off for some, but it also kind of opened my eyes to other aspects of the film that I never really, I saw them, they were right in front of my eyes, but I didn't really kind of digest or take in, being the scale, the use of CG, the way that they sort of this was a real war film, it very much so hit me on my love for Black Hawk Down, which I didn't even realize, but it just felt so right to pull from that moment while watching this. So for me, I kind of come out liking the film the same way that I had. I think it's one of the better Star Wars films, 4 out of 5, 7 out of 10, in that ballpark. But I definitely kind of appreciate more of the intricacies and nuances of it from sort of doing this panel and this watch along. And I think that's kind of why I like doing what we all do here on YouTube so much, just sort of dissecting it and really picking apart what makes these things tick, but that's just me, what I was thinking. We have Luck Reviews in here saying 9.2 out of 10. So he really likes this film. I mean, he was throwing out the GOAT Star Wars scene, but I mean, yeah, I don't know, how was sort of watching this movie on a panel, dissecting it for you guys? Did you have any kind of revelations like me, or is Chris just too high on the moment right now? What's your guys' take on all this?
Kind of the opposite to you. like, you know, if I'm going into this, it's like, it's not my favorite Star Wars movie, but I am able to see, like, I know why people appreciate this movie, and seeing you guys talk about like what works for you, it's like, yeah, I get it. Like, I totally see what you know, what you guys get out of it too. So kind of the same experience as you, Chris, but from a different angle, you know. So I was able to see a bit more positives this time for sure.
And I think the opposite of that for me, opposite of Brandon, is that, like, you know, hearing why people didn't like it so much, and or what the flaws are, and seeing that from a different perspective is, you know, one of the cool things about doing these watch parties especially with 6 of us here. I mean, that's not easy to do, but we all see things that others don't on here, and we're able to kind of introduce people to a different way of thinking about certain scenes or plot developments, or, you know, whatever is popping up in the film.
Yeah, and kind of to bounce off that point, my big thing with that is, again, very similar to Chris, where I loved this movie so much every single time that I watched it, that I knew what the flaws were, but I didn't necessarily care about it because it didn't affect my personal enjoyment and my personal watch of it. But this time, It was definitely more of a situation where, okay, now I'm starting to see the flaws, and now, because obviously I'm so much more well-versed in like the art of filmmaking and storytelling, I'm just like, okay, I'm understanding now what parts don't work, what, like, again, trimming the fat, giving this another rewrite, you know, catching some of these problems in production, you know, before production starts, as opposed to like when production starts. But even with all that being said, it's still a very, very enjoyable movie, and it still gives me a Star Wars experience on the big screen that, to me, no other has not been achieved since with this Disney era of Star Wars.
Elliot, man, where's your head at with all this?
Yeah, no, again, going back to taking in everything you guys are saying and in regards to inventory and just overall thoughts, you know, I still think that the idea and the conceptual idea of a story, a Star Wars story, kind of spinning off the main Skywalker saga, I think they did the best, you know, again, knowing the stuff that we might know behind the scenes and different rewrites and all that different stuff. We know that this could have been a solo situation. This could have been a much worse situation. So just looking at it from a face value and seeing what the final product was, I think they did a really good job. And again, for me, you know, this was Disney and Lucasfilm, and particularly Disney, going a little bit darker in regards to not a happy ending. I know some of the and I didn't want to mention it up top because I didn't want to spoil it for David, but one of the alternative endings were that the characters want to survive. So I like that they kind of, again, going back to the risk taking and maybe seeing that in the future of the universe and them taking more risk and introducing, you know, these one-off stories. And we're not necessarily, we were talking about trilogies, you know, I'm perfectly fine with not having a trilogy of films, just having one film, 2 films maybe, and then, you know, introducing maybe some TV series. But I like this premise, and I like what Disney and Lucasfilms were trying to do. Again, I don't know if we'll see another Star Wars story or spin-off in the realm of, and I don't think people really want to see another Skywalker spin-off in regards to, you know, an event from those, you know, 6 films or 9 films. But, you know, like I said, this film for me just works on so many levels. Cinematography, I like Michael Giacchino's score personally. You know, some of the characters that we're getting here are going to have future TV shows. So again, I'm a big fan of this. And if I were to rate it, I would give it a solid, you know, 4 out of 5 for me personally.
I feel that, man. David, dude, what was your kind of like, you know, you watched this movie for the first time on a panel, you know, do you think that sort of affected maybe why you didn't like it, because of maybe of all the chatter and like learning so much information at once? Or do you maybe think that this kind of didn't give you a chance to even like it because we're sort of dissecting it so much on such a deep level? Brando kind of bringing to attention why some moments, like, you know, take the blinders off, they really don't work if you look at it, you know, or like, is my just nonstop fanboying too much, you know what I mean? Like, what's your take on watching this film?
I'm guilty of that too, buddy. I'm guilty of it too.
Yeah. Not at all. I mean, if I was on a panel of people that worked on this movie, I would totally give my 100% honest opinion. That doesn't matter to me. I'm looking at this from a fan standpoint. Like, I understand these employ hundreds of jobs, but I'm looking at it from my opinion of an overall movie. And that's kind of what affects me there. And yeah, I mean, not knowing a lot does affect. And, you know, especially when I'm hearing a chatter from you guys about, you know, oh, this ties into Clone Wars, or this does this and this. That's awesome. When a movie can make you, or a TV show make you that invested in characters or storyline, that's beautiful. I mean, movies are keeping us off drugs. We could be in the streets right now doing drugs, pulling out crimes, right?
I don't know about
doing
you.
all kinds of vicious.
Yeah, I was about to say, definitely not me. Not the
Let's look at my drawers here.
Yeah.
I will.
The streets of
happily
Waco.
be the one to say that movies saved my life. So whether that's good movies, bad movies, whatever it is to keep me talking about them, hey, I'm going to talk them. But I think it's awesome that we speak it in our purest form, whether we get emotional about them or not. It's always good hearing you guys say, "Oh, that brought a tear to my eye," or whatever it is. That's what good movies do. That's what good writing does. So I enjoyed it. I enjoy talking with you guys, whether we disagree or not. It's always all love. I mean, it is what it is. We're going to be working on stuff in the future, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, as long as we're talking, that's what matters. And I think having a panel, of this many people, whether I'm the black sheep or not, I mean, it's fine. It's totally fine. It's opening me up to, the new possibilities of what can come. But like I said, I don't really see myself diving deep into these old movies. I mean, Brandon was actually trying to get me converting over to watching a Pirates of the Caribbean movie because I've never seen one of those. But we'll see. We'll see if I do that or not. But
That's
but I always enjoy
slope
talking
right
movies.
there.
Just the first one. Just the first one.
I like two. I'll give you two also.
Guys,
Yeah.
I mean, if you guys don't mind, I have like one more question that I think is pretty pertinent to ask before we sort of wrap up out of here. But and this doesn't have to be the last thing, but I just think it's kind of a cool note. So there's a potential series that Disney Plus is trying to make off of a character in this film, Cassian Andor. We just saw how he went out, so we know that like the stakes are going to be high, but we know what inevitably happens to this character. And I'd be kind of curious to get all your guys' thoughts as to like, I like this character. I thought he was very good in the role, but I mean, we know Star Wars isn't in the best place. So how do we feel about this Cassian Andor series that we're getting on Disney Plus?
Yeah, I think. Go ahead.
I'm just going to give my 2 cents real quick. It all depends on who the showrunner is going to be, but if Favreau's overseeing it, I have a good feeling about it because, again, for anybody who has thoughts on like, oh, well, what's going to happen with this character if we already know how it happens? Look at everything that Dave Filoni did with the Clone Wars and Rebels. That's all I got to say there.
And I think they have more to play with if it's going to be a Disney Plus show. More time, more different storylines that they can branch out into. And I think it can highlight different qualities of the character instead of just another film where, you kind of have to run with what's already been established. So I'm excited for it. I think, that's where it seems to be trending in the Star Wars universe instead of these standalones. We talked about that a lot last week. So let's see.
Me personally, I'm really looking forward to it. I know, again, the showrunners, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's the Tony Gilroy who did most of the rewrites and the reshoots. So he definitely has, and some people might say that he was actually the one that kind of shaped it to, make it to what it is today in regards to just the overall vibes and everything. So I'm looking forward to see what Tony Gilroy does and bringing in this character who, again, I like the idea of showing someone that is willing to do whatever it takes. We saw at the very opening scene in the film, he kills one of his allies. What's that character like before he gets to that point? What's his situation with just different. What I love about what Star Wars can do with their TV shows is, again, I love my lightsaber battles. I love the Jedi conversations. But what about, as we have mentioned, what about the characters that are affected by this? The people that are not necessarily like Luke Skywalkers and going up there fighting the battle. How does it affect the world below them?
Right.
So I'm really excited to see what they can do with that story. We're going to get a grittier show, the ground level stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. Again, I love the spectacle and all that, but what are these characters going through? What is this? Is it a character-driven show, character-focused story? So I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, strong characters, intriguing story, an emotional investment, get some talent involved. I'm in. You know what? And with The Mandalorian, at least it seems like they have a pretty good track record so far with Disney Plus, with Star Wars. So we'll wait and see. But as long as it has those three, then I'm up for anything. Simply put.
Yeah, I feel that. I'm going to certainly manage expectations. Like I said, I really like Diego Luna in the role. We know what happens to him. So in a sense, for me, since I was so let down by The Mandalorian, I think that's good that I know what happens to him, because I can sort of, like I said, manage those expectations and just have fun with it. Because I'm really looking for the light at the end of the tunnel in Star Wars, and now that I think I finally got that, given this 7th season of the Clone Wars, I can kind of relax a bit again and have fun with the IP and have fun with these characters like I did when I was a little kid. And this was like everything to me. So, yeah, you guys raised some good points there, and I'm just gonna have fun with it and sort of see what happens. But David, man, what's your thoughts on this this Cassian Andor guy getting his own series?
Yeah, I mean Diego Luna. So is that a confirmed thing, or is that just speculation?
Yeah.
we're talking
Yeah,
about?
it's confirmed.
Oh, it is confirmed. I mean, see, these one-off movies, it's like you can stretch them to the earth's end, right? But I mean, they work perfectly for a show, Disney Plus. I mean, they can do what they want. It's their streaming service. But Diego Luna is an amazing actor too. I mean, Book of Life, like he was in Narcos as well, and so there's like a lot of things that he's excellent. He's not a bad actor. Do I think people are going to be invested if they're not Star Wars fans? Those are the people that I'm thinking about. And I think the answer is probably no. I mean, unless you follow this whole thing, or Rogue One, or Star Wars in general, I think you're gonna be kind of split your demographic a little bit, because I mean, you have to think about the demographic of Disney. You have the children's movies all the way up into these newer franchises that they're building, right? Sorry, I'm kind of constantly thing on my eye, but
You're all good, man.
yeah, you got to be looking at things at a whole, and that's kind of like what I like to look at from a business standpoint. What's going to capture this audience as well as the fanboy audience, right? Would I like to see it probably as like a standalone, someone that's not really knowing too much about this character? Obviously, as a prequel, because we see that he dies, it'd be like a Black Widow situation, right? So I would like to see that personally, but I don't know how the rest of the Disney Plus audience is going to take it. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I totally know what you mean. That's why I said I'm kind of like managing expectations with it. I'm not going into it like, if my jaw gets dropped, great, that'd be awesome. I'd love to have the same feeling I had coming out of Rogue One the first time, but I'm not really expecting it. So I think therefore it will have a bigger impact with me. I mean, hey man, I love Jar Jar Binks. I think he got shafted in the prequels, and I am so down to sort of retcon his the way he
Another
went out.
character they used way better in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, but guys, I mean, Dom, unless you had anything else, no, you're good.
I'm
wow.
good.
Okay.
Let's wrap
If
this up.
Dom's good, then guys,
tired.
I think we did our jobs here. I think we did our jobs tonight, and I appreciate you guys coming on. Like we always say, and I know you guys know we mean it, but I just got to say it, man. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Like we're a newer channel, and just to have like built these friendships with you guys it really means a lot to us. Me and Dom love nerding out about this stuff, and we finally have like a crew we can do that with. So thank you guys all for being here. We really do appreciate it, and we love what you guys bring to the table. For anyone in the chat still with us, we did a watch along with the same crew last weekend of Solo, another Star Wars story, and it was a great time. We answered a bunch of big questions like Applebee's versus Chili's, among many topics. So like
still tastes the same, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. So we had a blast tonight. We had a blast last week, and we appreciate you guys sort of like joining our crew as well in the chat. These are all super talented YouTubers, personalities, bloggers, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what you call it. I just have fun doing this, But so please give them a sub, give them a like, follow them on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. These are good dudes, and if you like what they said, they go even in more in depth on their own channels. So with that being said, Elliot, man, why don't you start us off? Take us into the outro here, and let everyone know whatever it is you want to know about you. The floor is yours, my friend.
For sure, guys. No, again, Dom and Chris, really appreciate you guys having us on again. Such a fun time. And I don't know if you guys want to announce it now, but there is some more continuation going on into next weekend in regards to these Star Wars conversations that I love having. But yeah, as far as content and channel updates, I just wanted to, thank everyone that's this panel, building this friendship and this community with each other is awesome. And also thanking the people that joined in the chat. As far as content coming pretty soon, I'm watching a show now called White Lies, which this is on Netflix. I'm going to be reviewing that. And there was a show on Hulu, The Great, that I'm going to be reviewing here shortly. But just a lot of fun things coming up pretty soon. Just hit 3,000 subscribers. So again, it takes a community to continue to grow your channel. And I can't thank you guys enough for allowing me to be on your channel and building this friendship and this community so far. So definitely look forward to those future projects we got in the work. And thank you guys for having me on again.
Yeah, man, guys, that's Movie Files on YouTube, and I am addicted to this guy's takes on things, to this guy's content. He works so hard; he's constantly putting stuff out. So please go drop a sub to him, or just follow him on Instagram. Just support Elliot, man. And someone else who kind of like takes a different angle and somehow gets like people who do like real legit things to talk to him and creates compelling interviews and whatnot around that. Like, Joe, why don't you just tell people one more time what you do? Because it still blows my mind.
Yeah, so Guy at the Movies, daily movie reviews, news, and more. But one thing that we've been doing over the quarantine has been quarantine conversations. So have chatted with a few of the guys on here. We'll be chatting with a few of the guys on here as well. And also have been lucky enough to get some nice talent involved to talk about all aspects of the filmmaking business, whether that's directors, writers, producers, whatever it may be. So a lot more coming. Tonight we were supposed to have the Morning Geekdom from the Morning Geekdom podcast, but the Instagram went through its update recently, so we're struggling to get Instagram Live going a little bit. So that will be rescheduled this week, as well as the Cherry Picks on Tuesday, Griff Schiller on Wednesday, and Reviews Criticas on Thursday. So busy week there. Wednesday night, we're also doing a Batman vs. Superman Ultimate Edition watch-along, as well as on Monday, a series that I started 2 weeks ago and will be continuing every other week is Queer Movie Monday, to focus on queer films out there and kind of the importance of them in society. So a lot of random stuff going on. Posted my Fantasy Island review tonight. We'll be posting Vivarium tomorrow. We'll be watching Scoob at some point because that's the content that we have right now that's coming out. So, but again, guys, thank you so much for doing this. It's a lot of fun to chat about all this with you, and especially with the continuation of our conversation last week. It's a good group of guys, so make sure everyone goes and subscribes to everyone here. Follow them, support them, and let's keep an eye on what they do in the future.
Definitely, man. And Joe, I hope you guys don't have too much an issue rescheduling that, because I certainly am looking forward to tuning in as well on the IG lives that you do. But David's kind of become like my news source for all things like entertainment and cinema, on top of providing like dope reviews of just like, movies and things like that and retro gaming. But like, David, do you tell them all about Flix Talk and what you do over there?
Yeah, so that's going to be, and thank you for having me on, first and foremost. Once again, shout out to Chris's music, man. You got to look him up on Spotify. You're the type of stuff that my girlfriend loves, by the way. So we were trying to figure out, who do you play on the track? Do you play the guitar? Do you play?
I sing and I play the guitar.
Okay, that's what my girlfriend thought too. She's like, I think he was a singer. So, but anyways, we love the music, man. Big supporter of you guys' stuff. But yeah, so thank you guys for having me on this watch along. Once again, it wasn't my cup of tea, but it's all right. I mean, we're involved in the conversation and stuff like that. And yeah, retro gaming. So I really want to take that to another level on my channel. Hope you guys embrace that. So we're talking about like, NES, Super Nintendo. We're talking about Sega Genesis, Mega Drive. We're talking about Nintendo 64, PS1. I would love to incorporate that into my channel. That was my nostalgia, and I just suck at new gaming. So I'm going back to the retro gaming aspect side of it, and I'm not afraid to say it. But yeah, movie reviews, it's going to be a little slow because I don't really do the Netflix streaming too much, and that John Henry left a sour taste in my mouth. I don't want to take a chance on these movies anymore. But if I am going to review a movie coming up, I'm probably going to get drunk and watch Scoob, if I'm being honest. So I think that might be the next one. But I'm really focusing on, if you guys follow me on Instagram at Flix Talk, Flix Talk, I do drop just constantly every couple of hours, just new movie news. And it's surprising in quarantine times how much movie news we're getting. And I would like to incorporate that into my YouTube channel. So I'm probably going to be doing a lot more of these lives. You guys are all invited, by the way. This panel is invited to talk anything news. So I'm going to just sporadically drop it on a Monday, Wednesday, whatever day it is. If big news is dropping, we actually did an AMC discussion too. You guys remember that? So yeah, if you guys want to get involved, we are going to be doing more live, like breaking news type of stuff on the channel, because I love talking movie news, just speculation or whatnot. But I want to get more involved with that. Actually, tomorrow I'll be doing my weekly wrap up of just what came out, in the past week. So that's what I have coming up.
And David, there's something Monday night too, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Oh, duh. Sorry, guys. I forgot to talk about my upcoming projects. So we have Deadpool watch along, Deadpool 2. I'm sorry, Deadpool 2 with Movie Files and Elliot and Talkin TV podcast. So yeah, definitely, guys. These guys are going to be involved for one of my favorite sequels in the Marvel franchise of all time. And then I'm also going to be joining Elliot's podcast next week for The Shining, and that's the 40th anniversary. I'm actually so excited for that because I love I totally forget what it is, but that documentary they did, what was it, Room 2 something. I forget the actual name of the room.
I forget.
I'm really showing my fanboy for Shining.
297, 273, something like that.
Elliot, do you know?
I can't remember the room number, but I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah.
237?
Something like that. But yeah, we're gonna be we're doing like a huge Shining review, and I'm actually really excited for that one. So yeah, that's what we got coming up.
Hell yeah. And last but not least, the thing I love most about Brando's channel is that like he does do like the current stuff, but then he just throws out there like reviews and pieces of content on things that you could just tell like you just genuinely love, like your Matrix review. Like you watch that, and then I tuned in a little bit for your second live watch along. You're like, guys, like I just had to watch this movie again, you know. So I really appreciate like the honesty and like just like the purity of the candor on your channel, man. So why don't you tell everyone about what you do aside from being super knowledgeable on like a lot of these subjects, you know?
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Yeah, well, you know how I start every single video. I just say, my name is Brandon, aka the BrandoCritic, and it's my job to point you guys in the direction of movies worth checking out. And, you know, obviously in quarantine time, you know, obviously movie theaters are closed and we're not getting that many movies coming out on demand and stuff. But films have been around for 100 years, right? And I think, you know, I just want to share with you guys, you know, if you guys are just bored at home, you know, there's 100 years of movies out there that I just want to share with you guys. And here's some of the ones that I want to talk about. And there's a review coming out tomorrow morning. I post reviews every Wednesday and Sunday for a very underrated 90s Disney classic. I won't tell you guys what it is. You guys will have to check it out tomorrow. And then, of course, we're doing watch-alongs, obviously, with you guys, which have been awesome. And then doing my own, you know, based on if I want to do a ranking video for them in the future. So I just did Jurassic Park, Pirates of the Caribbean, Matrix, Lethal Weapon, you know, and so definitely check those out coming up. And then you can find me on Instagram at BrandoCritic, and then YouTube BrandoCritic. And Chris and Dom, I'll quote Top Gun here. I'll be your wingman anytime. And for everyone in the in the panel and everyone in the live chat, may the force be with you guys. This has been a lot of fun. And sending out just nothing but positive energy to all of you guys.
Hell
Likewise, man. Thank you guys again so much for being a part of this thing. Thank you to everyone in the chat who kind of added to the experience. Like we had a lot of good banter going on there. We appreciate what you guys bring to the table. And so, Dom, with that being said, we bring stuff to the table too, don't we?
Yeah, we do. It's time for me to do my long spiel. Bear with me. It's probably going to be a little stuttery, but I'm tired. I went on a long-ass bike ride today. This is probably why I was a little bit more lower energy. Guys, I'm Dom. That's Chris. I'm the movie nerd. That's the TV nerd. We have a podcast. It's called the Talkin TV Podcast. I like what we do, so I think you guys should listen to it. I think it's pretty cool. We talk about movies, entertainment, but we mostly try to break it down and take more of an analytical standpoint. We try to educate you guys. We try to have you guys learn a little something in the process without just, you know, talking about all of the typical nerd stuff. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube. If you go into any one of those browsers and type in Talkin TV, no G, or Talkin TV Podcast, if you leave us a like, if you leave us a subscribe, if you leave us a comment, any one of those are all greatly appreciated. We kind of, you know, need that. But also, again, it just helps us get better feedback from you guys, the community, you know, which is kind of the point of this whole thing, forming a community in order to continue to grow and expand and just get better at it is what we do. And yeah. Oh, we're also on Anchor. I almost forgot about that. The actual audio portion. We've been talking so much about the video portion. Forgot about the audio portion. We're on Anchor, which is a free distribution service that goes out to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Radio Public, Stitcher, Google Play, Pocket Casts, a bunch of different places you can listen to podcasts. It's not SoundCloud though, because SoundCloud makes you pay for it. Same thing. Talkin TV Podcast on there. New episodes every single Wednesday. And Chris also has some personal places that he'd like to plug as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just keep it quick. I have another podcast called Talkin with Andrew and Chris. It's a show about life, music, and everything in between. And kind of like Joe does with the whole film world, we just interview other musicians and stuff. And right now, we have an episode we just put out with a foundation called For the Nomads. A lot of the people behind the scenes in this quarantine, you know, the world's starting to open up a little bit, but like shows and all that, you know, they might not be going on for at least another year and a half. And those crew members do not have fans to buy their merchandise or to support them in any way aside from just getting the paycheck from the artist they work for, going out there and actually touring. So if you do check out our show, I really encourage you to check out that episode if there's anyone, because with any foundation, just getting exposed to it can do way more than you know, even if that's all you can do. And so with that being said, yeah, just drop all these guys a subs. We thank you guys so much for coming on the channel. We're going to be posting another and final Star Wars announcement, as Elliot was hinting at, tomorrow, if not Monday, about our last little tidbit of Star Wars Celebration. Guys, this was a blast. We really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you guys for being in the chat. And Dom, with that being said, is there a message you'd like to leave the people with here today?
Same thing I do at the end of every single week, people. Watch more fucking movies. We out.
Peace out, guys. Thank you for being here.